Hello, Professor.
Hello, hi.
Hi, I'm Dr. Islam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
So, Professor, I have a big meeting with my vice president of PSU. So, in this class, we need to record class by Zoom, and then I will post on YouTube, and I will share you again by email. And then if you have some Facebook account, please send back to me for your Facebook account's name, and I will add your friend by Facebook to contact together with my student.
Okay. As you can see, I'm now using my Facebook account. So this is my account. Jun Wei. Lim.
Please send in email. Okay. And then good morning, everyone. Today I would like to all of you attend our special class from Professor. Thank you, Professor. Please continue your class.
All right. So I will send you the Facebook account. I will put the short notes as you can see here.
Yes. And then you have 2 hours for morning section and 2 hours later for afternoon section. And afternoon I will enjoy your class again. Thank you, Professor.
Noted. Thank you very much, Professor Isara.
Thank you.
I just want to confirm if everyone can see my presentation slide right now. I just want to confirm if you can see my presentation slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So should I actually start right now? Is that okay for me to start presenting my work?
Yes, Professor, you can start your class. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me to actually share my research work. I think I have been planning together with Professor Isara since last year for these talks. Okay. So currently I'm actually affiliating with Universiti Teknologi PETRONAS. So this is the logo for my current institution. And today I'm going to share with you how in preparations to publish in a high impact journal. And if there's still a time after the end of my presentation, I'm also going to share with you the research work in biofuel from biomasses that I have actually worked on since I joined University Teknologi PETRONAS in year 2015. And whatever I'm going to present to you right now, publishing in high impact journal is the tool that I have used to actually publish my work related to biofuel and biomass. Okay, so my name is Jun Wei. Lim is my surname. I'm actually a professional chemist in Malaysia and also a professional technologist in Malaysia, carry a title of CHM and PS respectively. And since end of last year, somewhere December 2022, I managed to obtain chartered chemist as well as a chartered scientist from Royal Society of Chemistry. And also I'm a member of Royal Society of Chemistry. If any of you are interested to apply for chartered scientist or chartered chemist, you are welcome to ask me, and I can become your mentor for your application. And since my work is also related to environment, biofuel in this case, currently I'm also preparing a competency report to apply for chartered environmentalists. And I hope I can secure this chartership, the third chartership this year. And in terms of other professional skill, I'm also the associate member of Institute Chemical Engineer. And in Malaysia, I'm also a member of Malaysia Institute of Chemistry. And also I'm the member of Professional Technologists. Zooming down to University Teknologi PETRONAS again, I'm currently affiliated with Department of Fundamentals and Applied Sciences. And this is my email address. And this one also is my contact number, my office contact number. I have also shared my personal contact number WhatsApp. Okay, and I have since last year and also year 2021, I have successfully achieved a new high in my publication where I managed to publish almost 50 papers per year. And with this, I have also won University Award in publication. Okay. So some notable achievement and also my personal profile. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of Royal Society of Chemistry and also a member of Institute of Chemical Engineering, and then professional chemist under Malaysian Institute of Chemistry, and graduated technologist from Malaysian Board of Technologies. The first two is from the international level. The third and fourth is from the local in Malaysia. And at the moment, I'm also being appointed as a distinguished adjunct faculty from the Department of Environment Biotechnology, Sabita School of Engineering, Sabita Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences. If a similar position is available in the institute, I hope that I could get the opportunity to apply. In this regard, I thank you in advance. And currently, I'm also the guest editor for a special issue from Chemosphere. Also from Biomass and Bioenergy. And also, I'm a guest editor for two MDPI journal processes. And then also, I have edited a book. I think that's the question here. Okay, having the echo. Let me check my sound system. Sorry. May I know if let's say now it's better? I just lower down my speaker volume. May I know whether my voice is now better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen again. Okay, just want to confirm if everyone can see my screen right now.
Yes, we can see.
So the research group that I'm working in University Teknologi PETRONAS is that I have been working in biological wastewater treatment, activated sludge process, the biological process involving nitrogen removal through nitrification and denitrification process, biodegradations, aerobic, anostic, and aerobic process, as well as an absorption study. Okay, and also I've been working in microalgae research, biochemical, for example, lipid carbohydrate protein harvested from microalgae. The lipid can be converted to biodiesel. And currently, since everyone is talking about hydrogen is cleaner fuel. Burning of hydrogen will not produce any CO2 and only produce water. So I have started venture into the biohydrogen or green hydrogen from microalgae since about 6 months ago. And currently, I have 3 postgraduate students, 2 PhD, and 1 master is working in biohydrogen from microalgae. Maybe I will just monitor. Okay. And then I'm also working on bioremediation using microalgae, where the microalgae will single out or remove the pollutant from the wastewater. And I'm also involved in photobioreactor design to actually grow the microalgae effectively. Okay. Other than that, I have also been working in black soldier fly larva research. In this case, the larva will be grown using various medium, and then the biochemical in terms of lipid, chitin, and protein will be eventually harvested from the nature insects larva. And again, the lipid can be converted to biodiesel, and then the black soldier fly larva also can be used to reduce or valorize the organic waste. For example, food waste, sewage sludge, and also the palm oil meal waste. Just for information, Malaysia is the second largest producer of palm oil. So in the palm oil meal, we produce a lot of waste, and black soldier fly larva is a very good feature in order to remove or reduce the waste from the palm oil meal. So those organic medium will be pre-treated through fermentation process by bacteria. We call it Reax. Reax is a commercial name. Bacteria used to treat the sewage sludge. And then also fermentation carried out by yeast and fermentation carried out by fungi. So once the medium has been fermented, so this medium will be used to feed the black soldier fly larva. So this is the larva and how it looks like. As you can see, the black color is a mature larva, and then the creamy yellowish color is the one that are still growing. And once they have matured, this is how it looks like the adult stage. Okay. And you may be wondering why I'm working on biofuel, because University Teknologi PETRONAS, basically we are under the subsidiary of PETRONAS. PETRONAS here means that is a national oil company is the largest national oil company in Malaysia. So our research have to be earmarked or have to be designed to actually cater for the PETRONAS need. And in this case, biofuel is one of the research areas that have been evolving under PETRONAS. And besides, it will be also easier for us to get the research going from PETRONAS if our research area fall within the scope of PETRONAS. Okay. Just for information, along the way, if you have any question, feel free to ask, or you can also type at the chat box, where I will refer from time to time. Or if best if you can just switch on your microphone and you can ask me anytime. Okay, thank you. That's a question. Let me have a session with you. Okay. The morning session presentation material I have sent to one of the organizers here. And then for the sound, very fluctuating. Okay. Maybe I would use my microphone. Just hold on for a while. I will use my microphone.
Okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. We
Okay.
can.
Is that better by using this headset?
I think this is better.
This is better.
Yeah, the sound is quite smoothly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me check if let's say there's any comment. Very fast. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay, just want to confirm if everyone can see my screen right now.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, moving forwards. I think this thing is blocking my view.
Professor? Excuse me, Professor. Your microphone is off. I mean, you didn't turn your microphone on in the Zoom.
Okay, I am really sorry. Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for notifying me. I didn't aware that I have accidentally turned into the mute mode just now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let me go through again. What is actually the publication? By definitions of the Cambridge Dictionary, publication means that an act of making information or story available to people in a printed or in electronic form. So by now, everything is going for electronics due to this industrial 4.0, all these internets, IoT of things. So seldom we have a printed publication anymore at the moment. And then there are several types of publication. It can be in the form of social media, web page, newspaper, conference proceeding if you are attending conference, magazine, scientific journal, reference book, books as well as a book chapter. But for these sections, I am going to focus on the scientific journal. And then in terms of scientific publication, we also can be actually segregated into a few classes. So we have a research and review article, letter to editor, editorial board, editorial from special issue, short communication, case study, and also report. And then in this case, for today's presentation, I'm also going to zoom into the research as well as some of the review article. Okay. And another thing for take note is a short communication. Short communication is also part of the research article. The difference is that this short communication is having a shorter details or information. And why short communication is important is that assuming that there's a researcher have found something very new, very novel, and the data is still not enough to actually prepare a long research paper. So this researcher can actually choose to publish in the form of short communication, where he or she will actually preserve that, okay, this researcher is already working in this field, in telling the world that this field, this researcher has been working on. So that's important of publish in short communication. Okay. And then at the moment, worldwide, we have so many publishers. The most prominent publisher would be like, for example, Taylor and Francis, Elsevier especially. Okay. And also we have Springer and also the Saga journal. And then some of the publisher will require article processing charge, for example, MDPI. Okay, so when you are submitting a paper to a publisher like MDPI, you have to be very careful because all the publication will be an open access. Therefore, you need to pay some of the publication charge. In the case of Elsevier, some of the journal you can choose whether do you want to make it open access where you need to pay the publication charge, or you can actually publish it under subscription where you don't have to pay any publication charge. Okay, so all this will actually mention under the guide for authors. Okay. Okay. The next is why we need to publish a research data. So in general, the reason why we need to publish a research data is that it actually facilitating the science discovery and access, reinforce open scientific inquiry, and also reproducibility and transparency. So we want to actually share the research finding, telling the world that we have actually managed to break through certain research area. Okay, and then we also want to ensure that if let's say the work is being carried out in other part of the world, we have to make sure that the result is also reproducibility. Therefore, we from the publication, the university as well as the researcher can get also the recognition. Okay, can provide a direct credit to the researcher where this work has been pioneered by some of the researcher, for example. and then also to increase the impact as well as the visibility of the researcher. So once you publish a paper in a very good journal, people start to recognize you. So in this case, probably people or other university will actually start inviting you to present as a keynote speaker in the conference, for example. So you will become more visible, you will become more well-known. And then also to promote research and demonstrate the use of relevance of the research. So sometimes we can actually get some information from the research paper. You don't have to start from the zero. Some of the information is already available. For example, in industry, to cut down the research time or the resources for the research, this industry can search the research paper and they can actually adopt the procedure, for example, in improving their product or maybe their process. So that would actually cut down the cost as well as cutting down the time in order to develop a new product, for example. Reduce the cost of duplicating the data. So this is very important. For example, as I mentioned, for this industry application, for example, you will actually save costs because the data is already available and you can actually adopt it. But of course, in this case, you have to be very careful with the very careful for in the case of PI, where some of the research work has been the copyright, for example, or maybe the research work has been patented. So you need to check for this one before you can apply. So these are another limitation, which I'm not going into details of that for today's presentation. But of course, we can feel free to discuss with me later on. Okay. And research also donor and institute policy the research data may be made open. So the function of the main function of the university is to disseminate the information. So through the research is one of the way for the university or the research institute to share their finding. Okay. So for specific reason, so for university, it can actually gain reputation and prominence, as you can see in the QS ranking or THE ranking, where recently they have sent me the invitation and I have completed also recently. Okay, so through the publication, it will also gain certain point for the university ranking. Okay, so that would actually provide the reputation prominent to the university. Okay, in terms of rank. And then for student, okay, this is part of the graduation requirement. For example, in my university, UTP, University Technologi PETRONAS, master student need to publish, I think, one research paper as well as one conference paper. That's a minimum. And for PhD, would be required to publish 2 research paper and I think 1 conference paper, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and then for a student, postgraduate student, do not just follow the minimum requirement, okay? Because that is not so good for your CV. So if you can publish more, you can add value to your own CV or your curriculum vitae or your resume. So the more you publish, the more line you can add into your CV. And that will definitely help you if you want to find a job later as a researcher or as a academic or faculty member in the near future. Okay. And then if you publish more, I'm sure that your supervisor also will be very happy for you. Okay. In this case, your supervisor will actually gain reputation. Okay. This doesn't mean that the supervisor will have to depend on the students. And what I'm trying to say is you have to work together with your supervisor to come out with a very good research paper where you can publish in a high impact journal. Okay. And then supervisor also good for the CV. And then this would actually good for promotion in university. Certain university, I'm sure that publication is one of the assessment criteria for promotion. And then also as a part of the research grant requirement, where sometimes when you prepare a research grant, you will mention that the output. So one of the output can be the publications. Okay. And then key performance indicator. So for example, in my university, at the end of the year, we have to see our boss, my superior, and present with what I have done. So all this is a key performance indicator. And publication is one of the components that will be assessed. Okay, that means if I'm hitting the target or doing better than that, that would actually reflected by the bonus that I will obtain. Okay, if not, that will be the negative impact. Okay, warning letter, for example. And then finally, publication also is a one way for me to measure or to gauge student performance. What I'm trying to say here is some students, just give you an example. The students have been working very hard in the lab. However, the data obtained may not be good enough, or the data collected may be not useful. So in this case, the students are wasting so much time in the lab. So how to actually measure the data is useful or not? So this can be done through publications. So this is one of the ways. In my case, actually, I have also set certain criteria for master as well as PhD in terms of publication. And to me, this is very important because during the Viva or the final assessment, okay, they need to have a strong data in order to defend their work from the examiner. And if the work has been published, means that it have undergo review by the international panel. So the feedback has been obtained, and the student will definitely have more confidence when they are facing the Viva examiner. So this is another reason. Okay. So once you have published a research, you can actually create your Google profile or your Scopus profile, for example. So this is my current, this is not a current, this is somewhere last year profile. Because this year, my profile, my H index as well as a citation has increased to almost close to 50. Okay, so you can actually, how to actually search the Google profile, you just go to Google website, you type the name, then you type Google Scholar. Okay, then you can search for profile from any researcher worldwide. Okay, including Malaysia, Thailand, or anywhere. Okay, and then from the Scopus, it's quite automatic. So once you have published a paper, the Scopus will start to recognize you, and they will actually develop a profile for you. And as you can see here, this is actually my Scopus ID. Okay, and here is my another ID. Okay, but usually we are using the Scopus ID. We are seldom use this ORCID ID. Okay, and the good thing about this profile is that you can actually put the link of this profile into your CV. So that will actually facilitate when you're preparing your CV, where whoever view your CV later on, they can just click on the link and that will direct them to your profile. Okay, so your profile in the CV will be updated automatically through Google Scholar or through the Scopus, for example. Okay, so it's quite convenient with the technology nowadays. Wait, sorry, I accidentally exit. Let me share the screen again. So moving further, okay, moving further, let me actually define the impact factor from the journal. Okay, so perhaps some of you are actually familiar with the impact factor, but let me quickly go through what is the meaning of impact factor. Okay, so impact factor is actually a types of measurement to show or to reflect the quality of the journal. And this one has been calculated by graduates that reflects the yearly mean number of citation of the article published in the last year. So this is a formula to actually calculate the impact factor of a journal. Let's say you want to calculate the impact factor of this journal, Nature, okay, with the impact factor 41.577. And how do you get this value? It's through this formula. Okay, so that means it's a total of citation obtained by this journal in year 2017, divide by the publication 2016 and 15. Okay, then after that, you use the calculator, then you get this 41.55 value. Okay, so this is how the impact factor is calculated. Okay, there's another matrix to decide the quality of the journal, we call it site score. Okay, so to calculate this site score for any of the academic journal, okay, you can actually calculate, for example, Nature, the value is 51.0, the site score. So it's calculated from the total citation, 19, 18, 17, and 16, the last 4 years from 2019, then divide by the publication of the similar year. Okay, then divide, you get 51. Okay, so the higher the impact factor, the better the journal, because this journal receive many citation. Many citation means that a lot of people or many people is referring to this research work. Okay. So where you can actually find the value of impact factor and citation score. So for example, in Elsevier, you can go to Science Direct and you can search for the specific journal. For example, in this case, Renewable and Sustainable Energy Review, where you can find the site score as well as the impact factor here. Okay, or you can directly go to the Web of Science and you can search the individual site score and impact factor from the Web of Science page. Okay, so moving further, this is something that I want to emphasize for all the research that has been done by myself as well as my team member or my students. Okay, the plagiarisms. So the definition of plagiarism here is representations of the work of other as being your own work. Okay, this can be in the form of use of other words, idea, image, and etc. without the proper citation. So it is common for finding of other to actually finding the other word and express it by your own. Okay, and this can be avoided if you actually put the citation where you actually get the source. Okay, and there are also a software to actually that can be used to identify the percentage of similarity. So the usual software that has been adopted by my university is the Reinventing software. So we have been using this software to identify the percentage of similarity of the work. So this has to be best to be done before a research manuscript, for example, submitted to the journal. I always emphasize to my student that the best thing is to get the percentage lower than 15%. So not more than that. The lower, the better. And in the case of review, maybe to get it less than 10%. Okay. And then if let's say you are using the image from other journal, you need to get the approval from the publisher to allow you to use the image in your publications. Okay, so prior approval is very important because this image will eventually become the copyright of the publisher. Okay, if you are using this image without the approval, means that you are infringing, okay, the publisher rights. So we don't want this to happen. Just get the approval from the publisher before using that. Okay, because if all this plagiarism, if let's say one being caught, okay, that will actually affect or afflict the reputation, your name, and probably it will affect your job. The university may terminate the service in terms of academic dismissal. In the case of students, perhaps you will be barred, for example. So we don't want all this bad thing happen because of the plagiarisms. And this plagiarism also bring affect the reputation or defame the institutional reputation. Okay, so which is not so good. From time to time, even though in Malaysia we will heard about this news, because now publication is the key to the quality. So people have started doing many things, plagiarize. So people try to avoid, but eventually, just a matter of time, this person will be caught. So best is to do a proper job, as being defined by Andrew Blackman, the plagiarism. There often a trade-off between a short-term win and a long-term success. Okay, so you have to behavior, take the integrity seriously, align with the long-term outlook. Okay, where whatever business is it, in academic or maybe in other business, okay, you are often presented with the chance to cut corner or take the shortcut. avoid problem by behaving dishonestly. So try not to do that. So what you need to do instead is doing the right thing. On the other hand, can lead to more problem initially, but it usually pay off in the end. So business is a long term, just like academic profile is a long term. Okay, successful of company are usually those with a strong long-term outlook and vision. So acting with the integrity can help you to focus on getting the result 5 years from now or instead of 5 minutes from now. Okay, so we always look for a long-term perspective or long-term journey. Okay, so try to avoid all those shortcuts and plagiarize the other people's work. Because it will be just a matter of time people will start to notice. So very important, we want to avoid all these difficulty. So let me quickly check if there's any question from the chat box. There's no question here. Okay. So before start a publication, the first thing is usually language barrier. In this case, most of the publication will be in English. So as a non-native speaker like me, I'm actually a Chinese Malaysian, and I'm not the English people. Okay, and my language that I'm speaking every day is also not English, so it's sometimes very difficult for us to comprehend or to read or to write in English. So this is the first barrier the one or the student need to overcome. So how to actually resolve this problem? Okay, through iterative practice. That means you have to consistently practice writing, reading, understanding the English article. You have to do it repetitively. Because, for example, this is how I learn my own language, Chinese. So why I can speak Chinese very well? Because I'm speaking it every day. I practice it every day. If you're doing the same for English, perhaps you will be able to master the language in a shorter term. Okay, so what you need to do, keep reading more research paper and learn from the reading. Okay, especially the technical term. So every time when I read a research paper and those term or the technical that I think that I may use it or it's useful to me, I will write it down. Okay, in a piece of paper or maybe in the Word file. Okay, so this is my collections. So all these are the terms that I have actually obtained it from the reading of research paper. And every time when I prepare a research paper or I correct the research paper from my student, I would go back and refer to this term and I try to utilize it in my research paper. Okay, so you can do it similarly, and this is one of the way to improve the writing skill of the research paper. Okay, this is not only applicable to research paper related to biofuel and biomass, but it can actually apply to other types of research as well. Okay, so identify your scope, the term that you usually use in your research area, write it down, practice on how to use it. Okay. So next is tenses to use. Okay, so in research paper, if my student will be able to differentiate the use of past tense and present tense, that actually solve almost 80% of the English problem already. Okay, so you must fundamental important of to differentiate the past tense and present tense. So this is very important. You must know when to use past tense and when to use present tense. So here's the example. Okay, so present tense for the known facts. For example, the average life of a honeybee is 6 weeks. So last year, this year, or next year, the life of honeybee will still be 6 weeks. Therefore, in this case, it has to be present tense. Okay, and when it can become the past tense. Okay, so when you collect the result from the experimental work, so all the honeybee will maintain in the environment with a constant temperature, because this experiment is only you only work for this experiment at a certain period of time in which you have passed when you describe it in the research paper. Therefore, here in this scenario, it has to be the past tense. Okay. So same thing, the past tense describing the result. The average lifespan of a honeybee in our contained environment Okay, that means in your study was the year. So this is not from the nature, but this is from your study. So again, in this case, it has to be past tense. So you can actually differentiate in this way. From your own work, it has to be past tense when you describe it. But when it coming from the natural occurrence, for example, the earth will always be sphere. Okay, it will be in the present tense. You will never have the flat earth, for example, or other shape, square of earth. So that is not possible. Okay. Okay. So now I have actually covered most of the general details of publication. So now I'm actually narrowed down to a research paper preparation. I just want to check if there's any question from the participants. If there's any question, feel free to let me know. Okay. So when you prepare a research paper, usually this is the section that is required for a complete or full research paper. Okay, we have the author, we have a title, we have a who's the author, affiliations of the author, then introductions. Maybe there's the abstract here, introductions, materials and method, result and discussion, conclusion. Then we have the author contribution, acknowledgement, and finally the references. Okay. Okay. So start with title. Okay. So best a title should actually have these three components: the main objective, aim, and target, the procedure to achieve the objective, and what is the outcome from the objective. So you may be wondering, the title usually is about one sentences, how to actually incorporate these three components. Okay, so I have actually provided you a few examples here from my own publication. So as you can see, this is a title: Attached Microalgae Converting Spent Coffee Ground into Lipid for Biodiesel Production and Sequestering Atmospheric CO2 Simultaneously. So the whole sentence itself is actually the main objective of the work. Okay, so that actually covers the first component. And the procedure here is actually the use of spent coffee ground, okay, by microalgae. Okay, so this is the procedure. And the output here is to produce lipid for biodiesel and also to remove CO2, remove the CO2 from atmosphere. Okay, so these three components, when people, by just looking at the title containing these three components, it's very clear whether this research work is related to them or not. So if let's say they are related to them, perhaps they will further read the abstract and also the other section. Okay, and perhaps they will cite your paper in their research work, and that will actually contribute to your profile, which I have shared with you earlier. Okay, so I have a few other examples here. Okay, so for example, here, the second title, developments of beta-cyclodextrin, cross-linked citric acid, encapsulated in polypropylene membrane protected microsolid phase extraction device. So this is the procedure. And then the output here is to separate and pre-concentrate the endocrine disruptor compound. And the whole of this title itself is actually the objective. The same thing goes to the last title. Okay, so usually in a usual postgraduate study, master or PhD, usually there will be around 3 objectives for master and maybe around 3 to 4 objectives for PhD. So one of the objectives for my student work will usually be able to produce a research paper. So this is how I actually encourage my student to do it that way. Okay, if the student have a 3 research objective for his or her study, that means I'm expecting this student to actually produce 3 research papers. Okay, so this is how I work together with the student, plan together with my student in order to get things in order. Okay, moving further, the authorship. Okay, so try to remove this. Okay, so usually in the authorship, there's a first author. Usually I will reserve the first author to the student who actually carry out the research work and also draft the manuscript. Okay, if the students do the research work, prepare the manuscript, usually I will reserve the first author to the student. Unless this student, okay, carry the research work by following my instruction A to Z, never come up with anything by his or her own effort. And after carry out the experiment, the data never interpreted and also maybe never prepared the manuscript. So I would actually have to be allow this student to take the first authorship because this student is not doing his own work. He's doing the technician work. Okay. Then the next one is the corresponding author. So usually this corresponding author is a supervisor or co-supervisor who actually supervise and work closely with the student, including or inclusive of contributing idea, correcting the draft, maybe securing some research grant because the research is not free of charge. All those research material, we need some research grant to purchase it. Even though the student allowances, here we call it graduate assistant or graduate research assistant, also have to come from the research grant. The corresponding author also involved in submitting a manuscript and also handle the manuscript during the revision. That's very important, and this is the role for the corresponding author. And the other we call it co-author or secondary contributor. So usually this author will involve in proofreading the research paper, make sure that the tenses are correct, the idea is correct, or the factual finding is properly discussed, do some analysis, write some subsection or paragraph, and do the data analysis and interpretation. The analysis here can be in the form of statistical analysis and consented by the corresponding author, agreed by the corresponding author that this author can be included as one of the co-authorships. Okay, so these are the three types of author that usually appear in any research paper. So for example, in this case, we have a multiple authorship claim. So there are two first author. We call it co-first author by just putting this superscript. Okay, and also two corresponding author. So some journal they allow to do this way, but some other journal they disallow, and this one has been clearly stated in the guide for author. For example, the journal that I usually submit is Bioresource Technology. So this journal will not allow two corresponding author. They only allow one only corresponding author. Okay, so it's very much depending on the journal. So you have to plan where do you want to submit the paper, and is that two important corresponding author that can maybe appear. So in this case, you have to select the journal that allow the two corresponding author. Okay. So moving forward is the abstract. Okay. So basically, abstract is a short version of the full manuscript. People will read at the abstract. If let's say the abstract is interesting and related to their work, perhaps they will go further. And after reading the abstract, if a reader feel that, oh, this is not something that I have done, perhaps that's the end. They are not going to read further your research paper. So you must write the abstract clearly, and it should actually cover the main objective. Okay, you redefine the main objective from your title, and then the methodology must be concisely constructed, and you include some significant result of finding that you have actually worked or you have actually discovered from the research work. And finally, the overall conclusion. Okay, so the abstract should have all these four components. And again, the abstract must be standalone. Okay, so it's a first impression to the reader whether to move on to study your paper further or that's the end. So usually, abstract will be about one paragraph, about 150 to 300 words, depending on the journal requirement. Okay, so it was stated that your abstract shouldn't be more than 150. Some of the journal will mention that. Okay. And in the abstract, since it is standalone, so try to avoid using any abbreviation if possible. Okay. If you want to use a term just one time or two times, just spell it out in full. Don't put abbreviation unless you have to repeatedly, maybe 4 or 5 times using a term. Okay, then you can define the abbreviation when it first being used. Even though abbreviation is being used, best only to use one or two abbreviation, not more than that. Otherwise, it will be very confusing. Okay, and usually abstract there will be no references because this is your finding. You want to tell people your finding. You are not telling people other people finding. Okay, so avoid references. No references to the abstract. Okay, keywords. Okay, choose carefully as those used in the indexing. So what's meant by this? When you choose a keyword for your research work, the keywords when you have chosen, there's a keyword that actually will appear in the system when someone else search in the search engine, Elsevier, for example. So if let's say I want to search a paper related to biodiesel, so if I type biodiesel and all the paper with the keyword biodiesel, it will pop up. Okay, so you have to choose your keywords carefully so that the search engine will prioritize your published research paper to someone else who actually search this area of research. Okay, so this is very important, the keywords. Okay, may I know up to this stage any question that you think I can clarify?
Yes, sir. Good morning and namaste. I am Gandhi Magar from Nepal. I have one question that is regarding the research and the writers, authors. So, what I want to know about that. So, can we do single persons the whole paper research,
Yes.
or what about its impact factor? If I do only one person by myself in my research, what about its importance and what about its impact?
Okay, usually
It will be more specific or general, something like that. If there are more than 2, 3, or 4 authors, it will be good, or only single person can be good, or whatever there. So let me want to know.
Okay. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for this question. I have actually seen many paper with only a single author. Okay, that means the full paper, either review paper or research paper, this is the only person who actually do the work from A to Z. No other people involved.
Oh, yes.
So which is usually very tough for this person to actually do this work. Very tough
Really.
because and then the good point about that is that this person will have the full claim, especially is very much depending on the institution of this person. Perhaps the university want to see this in his in his own staff. Okay, especially maybe
like
during
thesis,
the
like
promotion.
thesis.
Like the thesis, or maybe during the promotion.
Okay. Yes.
So the university, this researcher is very good. Most paper is his own. That means he carry out the work. So this work, this person or this researcher is very diligent.
Okay.
So
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That could be the promotion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on, let's see if there's any questions from the participant. Okay. So if not, then please allow me to continue. Okay.
Yes, sir. Let us continue, I think.
Okay. So the next section I'm going to cover is the introduction sections. So it consists of the background of the project, the problem statement, and the objective. Okay, the scope can be optional. You can actually describe briefly the scope of the work, but if it's not there, it's okay. So usually how I prepare the introduction is that through the funnel approach. Okay, so what is actually funnel approach? Okay, as can be represented in the table below. So the first component is the general details about the introduction. So in this case, for example, if let's say I'm working on the biofuel, so I can describe the general information about the fossil fuel, which is usually not sustainable. It's a sunset industry. Okay, should be substituted with some renewable fuel. Okay, and then also I can also describe generally how fossil fuel will threaten the environment, producing CO2, causing greenhouse gas effect, all these things. Okay, then I would actually narrow down or funnel down to a more specific introduction. So in this case, if let's say I'm working on the renewable fuel, so I can mention that where's the fuel or the feedstock come from. So it can be coming from microalgae. This is what I'm working on. And what had actually happened, what had been reported so far about the microalgae biofuel. So I can actually narrow down in that way. That means I'm not talking about the solar fuel, for example. I'm not talking about the wind energy, which is also renewable, because I have now narrowed down to the renewable fuel from microalgae biomass. Okay, then I start to identify the gap. So what is the current gap to produce biofuel from microalgae? So for example, the use of commercial fertilizer, which is expensive, and that will actually impact the practical application when you want to scale it up. Okay, so this is example of the gap, and the problem statement here is about the cost. Okay, the cost of utilizing the fertilizer, which is not practical for large scale application. Okay, so the objective here is replacing the fertilizer with a more low cost nutrients, for example, the nutrient from the wastewater. Okay, so in this case, I can actually prepare or describe further about the objective in the form of scope, how to achieve the objective in the form of scope. So specify the wastewater that to be used, for example, industrial wastewater or maybe municipal wastewater. And then I can describe about what parameter to be measured in order to promote the growth of microalgae and so on, targeting to produce the biofuel at the end of the day. So for these introductions, try to avoid a very old literature. Okay, if you're using too many old literature, that actually show that your work is not new. The work maybe people have done it 1 or 2 decades ago, 20 years ago. So we try to minimize the use of the old literature unless you don't have much choice. Okay, or you can use but not too many in the references. Okay, best is the most of the literature review that you have searched from the past 5 years. Okay, and around 5 to 10 years are still acceptable usually. Okay, and in the paragraph for the introduction, try to avoid short paragraph. 1 or 2 sentences become a paragraph. Elaborate further through the final approach which I have shown earlier. Okay, and the storyline from one paragraph to another must not be abrupt change. So the storyline change must be seamless from one paragraph to another. Just like when you are watching movie, suddenly you watch a Chinese movie, and then suddenly you watch other movie. So at the end, you do not know what you're watching. Okay, so the change, the flow of the story of the introduction must be seamless. Okay, and then best is straight to the point. Don't use the flowery words because you are not preparing the storybooks, songs, or poem. Okay, you are preparing a research paper. So minimize the use of the flowery words. Use more technical words that is related to your research area. Okay. So get relevant idea from the current research, reported research paper, and best from the review paper. So review paper, usually you will have challenges of the area that you're working at. So you try to solve that challenges or the limitation. Okay. So the best way when you start a research work, the best paper to read is review paper. Okay. So once you have identified the research gap, then only you search the research paper, whether the current research paper have they resolved the limitation or not. If not, then there's something that you can work on. Okay. So plan the experiment. In this case, plan the experimental work. Okay. Only after conceiving the comprehensive work that done in that area. And unfortunately, based on my experience, most of the students, they blindly collect the experimental data. They are not sure whether this experiment data is useful or not. They just collect the data and then only plan their research paper after that. In my case, I always do it the other way around. I have to make sure that the literature review is very well well going through by the student. They have identified the gap, they have identified the limitation. Then only we carry out the research work to resolve it. Okay, so I actually plan my research work in this way. Okay, through the proper planning, then you know the final aim of your work. Even though before the work has been carried out, I already know where I am going to publish my research paper, which journal that I'm going to. So you have to plan in that way. And best is also to tell the student or whoever you are working on your intention and the strategy to achieve the target. Okay, not the other way around. Collect the data, then eventually you found out that this data is not useful. So all the efforts, money spent on buying the chemicals, or maybe research grants spent on analysis will be wasted. So we don't want this thing to happen. Okay, just some animation here. So reading is a way to countless adventure and wisdom. So in order to get up-to-date information, one have to be keep on reading the latest published research paper. And in my case, sometimes I read more advanced where I doing the uh, invited to review a research paper. So there's a time that I see what people have been doing right now. So I also learn from that while commenting on their work in the invited review. Okay. So best for the academician also to accept the invitation where you serve the journal by reviewing the manuscript and then you comment. Okay, based on your expertise. And then idea without action is also nothing. So you have to put your action into work in order to get a more solid outcome. This can be through networking and collaborations. Okay, that's all about the introduction part. Let me move on to materials and method. So this section usually describe in detail how the experiment will carry out. Okay, step by step. Ensure that enough information is given because we want, if let's say your work is published somewhere else, let's say I'm in Malaysia, someone else maybe in US, they want to carry out the same work, can they actually get the same result? So we have to make sure that the result is reproducible by someone else or in other places. Okay, so write in full detail whenever you work in the research. Okay, write it down in the logbook, for example. Never trust your memory because sometimes when you are too tired, you have forgotten what you have done. Best is immediately you have done something, write it down. Okay, so after you have collected the data, I always advise my student to start constructing figures and table. Okay, so that we can actually visualize the result more effectively. Okay, so construct the figure and table immediately after the experiment. Okay, or once the data is available with proper interpretations. Okay, so this is example. Okay, detail method or the methodology. Okay, so a Water Alliance HPLC model also included, equipped with DAD detector. Okay, and then the separation column, what types, and then also which supplier actually supply the column for the HPLC. Okay, and this example, the students method, the effervescent tablet are prepared by weighing this amount of sodium dihydrogen phosphate and this amount of sodium carbonate. This is dried in the oven at 90 degrees for 2 hours and desiccated for another 2 hours. After the correction, okay, so first is this experiment had passed, it should be in past tense, not the present tense as shown here. And then this is how I usually do the English editing work. Okay, especially for the students who have just joined, who are new. Okay, after the first round, the students are more familiar, they are more adept and also well-versed to prepare a research manuscript. So once usually I edit, I will tell them what's their mistake. Okay, and I hope that they will not repeat the same thing. Otherwise, all my efforts are wasted. Okay, this is another one. Okay, recovery test was performed using the real sample at this concentration for all furanic compound. Okay, after edited by the supervisor, this is how it looks like. Recovery test was performed by spiking the apple juice. So as you can see, the information here missing. So sometimes when I edit the work, I will call the student. I will tell the student, you have to stand by. Okay, I'm now correcting your work, especially the student who are still new. Okay, to supply me the information when I read, I don't understand, I have to call them directly. And then they have to supply me with the details. So sometimes being my student also they are headache, but I'm trying to help in with them to make sure that the methods are well prepared. When someone else want to repeat the work, they can do it similarly, rather than they have to contact the corresponding author, and then the corresponding author never reply after that. Okay, this will be the usual case. Okay. Okay. Results and discussion. Okay, this is a very most important sections. Okay, so this is a session where you discuss the important data. Okay, and then also highlight what is a new and novel from your discovery, from your experimental work. This is the place where you want the reader to comprehend your work. Okay, and then you also want the person who review your study agree with you. Okay, if you are not describing this session well, the chances of your manuscript being rejected will be very, very high, which I'm going to present it in the afternoon. And then you have to make sure that the result is interpreted comprehensively, and then you compare your result maybe with the literature, so that you are not working in silo. You only work report on a project. You must always compare your work with someone else who have done similarly, not exactly the same, but quite similarly, and tell them how good your result as compared to them, or what to be improved as compared to their work. Okay, it will not be always rosy. Sometimes negative thing can happen, so you must be able to describe them well. Okay, negative result doesn't mean that it's bad. It depends on how do you want the reader to comprehend your work. Okay, so you have to write such a way that to guide the reader. Okay, so that they will not repeat the same mistake, getting the same negative result. Okay, so that's another intention of the research work. And then if let's say your work is about need to collect the data, okay, you have to do the statistical analysis. Okay, so you can use some software, for example, SPSS or any software to actually strengthen your discussion. Okay, and then you can provide some chromatography or spectra if needed. Other than that, you need to interpret, then only you show the interpreted result. You don't show the raw chromatography result or the chromatograms. And in fact, some of the journal, they will mention that the images from the instrumental analysis shouldn't be included. Okay, some of the journal, they specify that in the guide for authors. Okay. So figures and table. Okay, so it's the most effective way to present your result, but you have to make sure this. Okay, the caption from the figure or maybe the table titles must be able to stand alone. By reading the caption, you know that what this data is representing. Okay, such that the figure and the table are understandable without the need to read the entire manuscript. Okay, the data represented should be easy to interpret. You don't want to plot something that when people look at your figure, they're confused. They don't know what you are talking about. They don't know what you are trying to show. So we don't want to have that kind of plot. Okay. So some of the data, some of the figure or especially table is too simple. You can actually combine them, which I'm going to show you after this. Color should only be used when necessary. Okay. I am still the traditional types. I don't encourage the use of color in the figure. Usually most of my presented or published research paper, the figure is still in black and white. But it is okay. This is just a personal preference. So I will give you this example. For example, this form, okay, is for attached growth and this one is for the suspended growth, or the total attached microalgae biomass and total suspended microalgae biomass. Initially, my student plot in this way. They have a 2 bar, one for attached and another one for suspended. Okay, so if let's say they will put it in that way, 2 bar for each of these BR, okay, you cannot see the total biomass. So to overcome this problem, make things easier, you stack, you total up, okay, the attached and suspended. So now you can see individual attached, the suspended, and you also can see the total. So that will be easy for the reader to comprehend the plots. Okay, so just want to show one of the example. Okay, other than that, as you can see, one line plot, this is also not encouraged. Okay, if let's say one line plot, you can actually describe the data in the text. You don't need a plot. Okay, so in this case, we can combine these two, okay, to become a single figure. So perhaps it looks better than the one line. This is not perfect, but at least it looks better. Okay. In the form of table. Okay, so we have this table for whatever description with the beta CD. And then this one is obtained from this one, from the peak area. Okay, so these two tables you can actually combine, and it will appear in this way because all the parameters here, as you can see, they are the same. Okay, just that the value is changed based on this one is from the beta CD and then this one is from the 18 CS. It is okay not to know what is beta CD and also 18 C6. Just I want to show here is you can actually combine these types of table to become a single table. Okay, so once you combine, the one in the bracket is representing from the 18 C6 and you can compare them easily. Okay, rather than this, perhaps they appear in a different page in publication. So you have to flip the pages, which is more troublesome. But if you were to combine them, then that will be easy for the reader to comprehend the data that you are presenting. So this is just another example for the table. Okay. So before I move on, just want to know if there's any questions from the participants. Perhaps I can answer.
Yes, sir. I have one more question again.
Yes, please.
So you also demonstrated here that the introduction part also, segmented in 2 parts: general introduction and specific introduction. So can we also, segment like general, like introduction to the objectives, general objectives and specific objectives, sir?
Yes, but
Mm.
your general objective is something for you to introduce to the subsequent specific objective. That is okay. But if your general objective does not bring any impact to your specific objective, then best not to include.
Okay.
So it depends on how do you want to construct your specific objective to enhance the understanding of the reader.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And thank you. Just want to know if there's any more question from the participants. So if no, let me continue. Just want to know from organizer, do I need to give a short break?
Okay,
Because
sir.
I feel very excited. I feel very excited when I present it. So just want to check with the organizer. Is it necessary? Hi, organizer, are you here?
Good morning, sir. It's okay. Continue, please.
Continue.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, for the conclusion part. Okay, so the conclusion answer the most significant finding in relation to the objective because you have specified the objective in the introductions. So you must tell the reader whether your objective is successfully achieved or not. Okay, if not, then you have to tell why. If yes, then you have to highlight that you have successfully achieved the objective and what finding that you have discovered. Okay, and then for conclusion, usually we don't put the numerical importance because this numerical importance, we actually put it in the abstract. Okay, instead you describe the novelty that actually satisfy the objective. And then also you can include how the novelty impact the environment, the cost, or your application. And if they say there's any limitation in your work, okay, you can actually propose specific recommendation for future study. But this is not compulsory. It's something like option. Okay. Okay. Next is author contributions. As far as I remember, maybe before 2015, there's no required to specify the author contribution, especially in the Elsevier journal. Then after that, realized that author contribution become a necessity in all the journal from the Elsevier right now. Okay, so what is actually author contribution? Actually, is written in this form, credit author statement. So, the credit author statement, you can see some is capital letter, some is small letter. It's actually coming from the contributor role taxonomy. Okay, so this is the word that is being derived. Okay, and these are the indicator, the contribution of each author. So the term used, if let's say you mention that author A contribute in terms of conceptualization. So what are actually conceptualization? It cover the idea, formulations, all these things. Method may be involved in experimental work and so on and so forth. And all these actually you can obtain it from the journal itself. Okay, so they define each of these contribution and what are the respective definition for the term or the contribution from the author. Okay, it is not necessary that one author will have only one conceptualization. It can be maybe two authors from the students or maybe from the supervisor. Both are come up with the idea. So both can actually claim conceptualization. Same thing, it goes to the other contribution term. Okay, acknowledgement. So this usually include the research funding that actually support the research work. So you have to acknowledge the research funding, the funding body as well as the research grant number that you have to specify under acknowledgement. Or maybe you want to recognize someone that is not up until co-author level, but you want to acknowledge them. For example, the lab technologies. Okay, who actually when you come over the weekend, like in UTP, when you come to weekend, you have to make appointment with the lab technologists. They will come to open the door, the lab door for you. Okay, you want to recognize that kind of person, or maybe the lab technologists support you in terms of finding the material. They help you to support you the research work. So you can recognize or acknowledge that person under the acknowledgement sections, or maybe from the industry who actually provide you some research material. Also, you can put this industry panel or the stakeholder in these acknowledgement sections. Okay. References. Okay, you have to be consistent. Follow exactly the journal style. You don't come up with your own style. Okay, because sometimes your paper will be rejected at the technical level simply because you don't follow the format of this journal, especially the journal that actually receive too much submission. Okay, so they will do the initial filter. So we don't want the paper to be filtered out because of the formatting error. Okay, even though you are using some software, for example, EndNotes, you still need to proofread your references. Ensure that the references style that you are using is consistent, because somehow this EndNote will make a mistake. So you don't trust the software 100%. Proofread the references even though you are using the EndNote. And I have seen this problem from my student many, many times. Okay. Do not use too much references. Some journal even have specified, okay, research paper, you cannot have more than this number of references. Okay, and avoid excessive self-citation. You don't want you publish a paper, Then you put all your paper in the references. You are self-citing your work, hoping that you will get a higher H index. Okay, so we don't want this thing to happen. And eventually, some of the reviewer, they are very clever. They check also the references and they pinpoint all these things. And once they pinpoint all these things and the editor also notice that, so probably your paper will be rejected. Okay, so we also don't want this thing to happen. But you still can cite your paper if the work is really, really related. So there is no problem for that. We just don't want you to cite a paper that is not related just because of you cite it, you want to enhance your own citation. We don't want this to happen. Okay, and then also avoid excessive citation from the same region means that you only cite certain paper, you bias. Okay, you cite certain paper from certain country. Maybe this country, most of your collaborator, they are staying there. So you want to cite your paper. We don't want to play all this game. Okay, so you include only the references that those are related. Your research work. Okay. Because we don't want them to highlight you. And then later you put them, they will put you under the microscope to monitor this kind of researcher. So we don't want this thing to happen. Okay. Otherwise, once you are blacklisted by the publisher, it doesn't look good to your reputations. So just like what happened to the plagiarism in which I had presented earlier. Okay. So this example of the references from the journal, from the book, start with the authors, year, then the title of the paper, and then the journal. This is a volume, issue, and then maybe this is the page. Okay, and then this is the format for the books. This is just to show you one of the examples. Different journal, it has a different formats. Okay, actually, I'm hoping one day that, for example, publisher Elsevier, all the journal will use the same format. So that will be less confusion. I'm hoping that day will come. Okay, so where publisher will standardize the references used by the respective journal. Okay, so this is my wishes. One of my wishes. Because every time when my paper is rejected, we want to change to other journal. We want to submit to other journal. We have to do the formatting again. So it's a little bit troublesome. It's not difficult, but it's a little bit troublesome. Okay. Let's see. Can you actually identify at least 6 cases of inconsistency in this paper? Okay, these some activities. So anyone want to try? Can you spot some inconsistency for all these 5 references?
Yes, sir. Let me want to tell is one thing that, so in number 1, RA Whitley trends in these things, but I think there is not also mentioned any research title.
Some didn't mention the research title. For example, the first one. Okay, other mentioned the research title.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also the year. Some of them they put brackets, and then this one just appear like this.
Yes.
And then the naming, some surname like at the back, and then this one at the front. So we don't want all these things to become a factor of your paper being rejected. So we try to actually check, proofread all these things, which is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. When I prepare a paper, this is my personal preference. Okay. So once my students have collected, or we have collected research data from the lab, so we start to construct figures with the caption, and also we construct the table with the table titles. So once we have all these things done, each of these figure, we actually write down the point form. What are we going to discuss? Okay, so we do the interpretation for the figure and we do the interpretation for the title. Okay, then we start to prepare the result and discussion section first. Okay, so once this is done, result and discussion is done, then we move on to method section, materials and method sections. So we actually outline step by step the procedure to carry out the research work or the research work in the lab. Okay, So if let's say we are following some of the method from the literature, we still do some modification. If let's say we are doing modification, so we will revise the method, but we need to cite the method where it is come from to avoid the plagiarism. Okay, and if let's say we are using some statistical software to do analysis, so we have to mention the version of the software that we are using and so on. Okay, so once this two section is done, means that almost 60% of our work is done already. Then we will start preparing the introduction using the funnel approach, which I have shared earlier. Okay, then after done, we check the references for all these three sections to make sure that whatever references in the text, they are appearing in the references section as well, and vice versa. Okay. Then after that, we only start to construct the abstract and conclusions. Once this is done, we only think of the best title, the eye-catching titles for the paper, and then we identify the suitable keywords. So once this is done, then we will actually follow this 3A, means for authors who actually contribute and their affiliation, and we will put acknowledgement to the funder who actually support our research work. Okay, so once this is all done, the paper is now ready. We will start to construct graphical abstract, because now most of the journal Elsevier, they want to see the graphical abstract. They make the graphical abstract, some journal compulsory and the other is optional. But to me, it's good to also submit together with the graphical abstract, because images is something that actually catch the human mind. Okay, so if your graphic telling the abstract is attractive, so that will actually increase the probability of the reader to read your manuscript. Okay, so I would advise my student to construct a very informative graphical abstract with limited wording, because you don't want to put too many words in the graphical abstract. Otherwise, it will become a typical abstract. Okay, so once this is done, we will start to prepare the cover letter following the guide for author of the journal. Okay, so these are the usual steps that I use. However, this sequence is flexible and you can change accordingly based on your needs. This is just my personal preference. Okay, because the reason is very simple. Once you got your result, the idea is still very fresh. So it's easy for me and also for my student to construct or to prepare the discussion following by the other methods. Okay. And please take note that once the figure and table are ready, the manuscript preparation should be completed in 1 or 2 months or earlier. Okay, in order to keep your momentum, keep on writing the paper. If after you collect the result, prepare figure and table, and you go for holidays, you coming back after holiday, you will forget everything. You lose all the momentum. Okay, so you must consistently continue writing the research paper. Okay, once you got the result, just like when I'm applying for my chartership. Okay, I keep on writing. I don't stop, because I know once I stop, I will lose the momentum. Okay, so you have to keep your momentum rolling. In a case, if let's say you are a supervisor, you must consistently encourage your student, okay, to keep on moving, which is usually, I understand, a very difficult process. Okay, so where do you find the guide for authors? Usually, for example, like journal like Biofuel Technology. So it's here. You click in the guide for author, it will bring you to another page. Then you can see the format, the scope of the journal. Okay. Have to read this one carefully, the requirement, because most of the paper has been turned down at the technical check stage. That means it not even reached the editor yet. Okay, just simply because you don't follow the technical, you don't follow the format as mentioned in the guide for authors. So formatting usually will require line numbering. Best to use the consecutive types. Okay, you don't start the line numbering every time you have a new page. You start with the line numbering again. Best to avoid that. if you are allowed to include the consecutive type of line numbering, best to use that. It's also easier for the reviewer to pinpoint which part that you need to do correction. And then make sure that your figure caption available. Okay, not just prepare the figure, then you forget the caption. And same thing goes to the table title, they are available. Okay, and then if let's say you are using any citation for figure and table, make sure that they also appear in references. Okay, so the references is not only from the text, it can be coming from the figure and table. You have to check carefully if there's any references used in the figure and table. Okay, and they should appear in the references. Another one important section is highlights. Okay, so journal like Elsevier, it requires highlights. And usually for each highlight, it specified in the guide for authors that the total character, including the space, is only 85, not more than that. Okay, so sometimes it's very tricky to prepare the highlights. You are limited to only 85 characters, not more than that. Okay, so it's quite difficult. So you have to prepare a highlights that cover the novelty of your work. It can be also include some important discovery of your work. You also can include that. Usually the highlight required is between 3 and 5. Okay, so minimum 3, maximum 5. Okay. I find this one very tricky because it's very difficult when we have this kind of limitation, 85 characters. So you have to sometimes adjust on the word use, the singular and plurals. Okay, so that is to fulfill the requirement of the 85 characters. This is an example of the graphical abstract of my prepared published manuscript. So from this graphical abstract, you know that I'm actually using the nutrient-rich wastewater. And the problem is that alkalinity very high and also high in ammonia concentrations. Okay, has been mentioned here. So what I did is we actually designed a photobioreactor. You can see from here. Okay, so this photobioreactor, it has the activated sludge, which is in brown color, and the green color outside means that it's meant for microalgae. So this activated sludge actually reduce the chemical oxygen demand, and then also convert the ammonium to nitrate, increase the CO2, and decrease the pH. So when it activated sludge doing all this, it actually condition the wastewater that become more suitable for microalgae, rather than directly used from the raw wastewater. And eventually, we also show the product, treated wastewater, and then microalgae biomass and the biofuel, which is a microalgae biodiesel. So you can construct something like this to attract the attention from the reader. This is another one. If you don't have much on the images, you can also construct the tree diagram, something like this. Fermentation, there's a two-way, then give it to the DSFL. Okay, then you get the lava biomass, you produce lipid protein chitin. So automatically, if let's say someone is working on biodiesel, they saw the biodiesel, they will read further. Okay, even though they don't really understand your graphical abstract. Of course, this is to show the output. Okay, so next is I want to share about the open access and also the subscription. So for example, before that, publication now is a very good business. Okay, to earn from the academic institution. For example, when an institution subscribe the Elsevier journal, I believe they pay more than 100,000 USD, okay, every year in order to get the subscription of all the journal from Elsevier. Okay, even though you publish a paper in the Elsevier Biofuel Technology, you can choose open access where you need to pay extra. Means that once you pay for open access, your paper will be made available to everyone who ever access it. Okay, that means expected your paper will have a higher citation. Or you can choose subscription where you no need to pay, but your paper is only available to the institution who subscribe the Elsevier. Okay. So if you go for open access, you have to make sure that you have a sufficient allocation from your fund to pay for the open access, if not from your pocket money. Okay, and it's not cheap. The open access, some of the journal can go up to 2,500 USD. So it's quite expensive. Okay. And for example, this journal from Elsevier, it has only open access. That means once you send your paper to here, means that you have to pay. Okay, so when you select your journal, you must be very careful. Refer this, or you can refer the guide for authors. Okay. Otherwise, once your paper is accepted, you have to pay. Otherwise, it will not be published, and all your effort will be wasted. So have to be very careful when you select the journal where to submit your paper. Okay, cover letter. So best to use the institutional letterhead. Don't use a blank paper. You use your institutional letterhead. Usually, this cover letter you address to the editor with his or her name. Make sure that their name is correctly, the spelling is correct. And then the title. So are they professor, or you're not sure? Usually, we will put the professor to play safe. And then declaration of submission originality. Sometimes you can obtain this one from the cover letter. You can obtain from the guide for author. This guide of author will actually tell you what to be included in the cover letter. Okay. And then you can also include a paragraph of novelty in the cover letter. Why your work need to be published. Okay. You specify the novelty. Okay. In the cover letter, which I'm going to show you here. So as you can see, this thing block on my view. Let me remove it. So as you can see, the cover letter, I'm using my institutional cover letterhead. So this is the institutional logo, the date, the guest editor. So who is the guest editor? I have to specify them out. Okay, or the editor itself, or sometimes it's a editor-in-chief. Okay, if you're not sure, if this is not a special issue, you don't know who's the guest editor, you can put the editor-in-chief. And then you specify your submission with the title. Okay. And then you have to mention that your preparations is following the guide for author. Make sure you are following the guide for authors. And then after that, you specify the novelty of your work. You tell the editorial office that why your work need to be published. Okay. Although sometimes this is not compulsory, but best to include. Okay, to show your effort, to emphasize your work is important. Okay. So the next is I'm going to introduce is virtual special issue. Okay, so a special issue is an issue of the journal dedicated to one chosen topics. So it should contain the latest work in the subject. So for example, you can see here the many special issue from International Journal of Hydrogen Energy. Means that each of these special issue, it cover certain scope. Okay, it covers certain scope. And then another good thing about creating a special issue is that it can be a unique and valuable reference source for every researcher interested in that area. Okay, and there are many reasons why I like to publish in the visual special issue, or I will just call it special issue. So among the benefits are that the higher chances of acceptance. Sorry. The acceptance standards. The acceptance probability will be higher because this special issue usually will be invited. So once you become a very well-known in a specific area of research, the guest editor of this special issue will approach you. He or she will email you to solicit the research paper. So that will increase the chances of your paper being accepted. And then the publication of this special issue also faster because the guest editor is the one that actually will manage the paper rather than the editorial board. Perhaps they have many papers to be managed. Okay. And then this special issue also will have a higher readership and citation, because the person who actually read the paper from a similar special issue, probably that researcher will also read your paper. And most important thing is you have a chance to network with other researchers who have actually published in the same special issue. That means you are working in about the same research area. So you know them, they know you, then you can expand your network for the later day. Because as you know that now research, we cannot work alone. We need collaborator from various institutions or maybe from various countries in whatever collaborative reason. It can be in the form of co-supervision. It can be in the form of co-grant applications and so on. Okay, so now research is not working in this silo, but you have to expand your horizon and to work with people around the globe. Okay, so this is a few special issue that I have. Okay, the deadline is last year, but this special issue actually eventually we have extended until this year, somewhere around June. Okay, so we are still accepting paper for this special issue that I am co-editing. This is another one from Energy Nexus. Okay, from biomass and bioenergy, where I'm also co-editing. From the MDPI sustainability. Okay, those from MDPI needs article processing charge. So if you are interested, I can also request some discount for you. You can approach me. Okay, so my presentation has almost come to the end. Just want to share with you some of the typical or general common mistake that one probably make when preparing a research paper. So the first one is you think too much. Okay, end up you're hurting yourself. You're not publishing anything. Okay, the second one is not everyone will see your vision. And most important thing is you need to put your vision at work. If you think too much, you don't work, you don't see the end result, the solid outcome. Okay, do not be too rigid and stubborn. Okay, the greatest skill at the moment is to adapt to the rapidly changing world. I have seen many researchers, let's say they're working on absorption study. Okay, they still hold on this absorption study after 10 years, 15 years later, even though this research area has been saturated. So this researcher refused to change. Eventually, what will happen is that he will become obsolete. Like, I give you a very good example is what happened to the Nokia handphone. That was once everyone is using Nokia handphone. But now, we seldom, like in my case, I have never seen people using Nokia anymore. Because Nokia, they are not making any mistake, but they are not evolving. They are not adapt to the change. Okay. So in my case, currently, I'm actually working on green hydrogen. Okay, I have changed to hydrogen, which is something new for me. And I have also looking on way to adopt machine learning and AI into my research work, because I know this is the way forward. People start talking about this. Okay, so I have to move forward. If I still being too stubborn and refuse to change, eventually I will end up my work like Nokia. Okay, I don't want that to happen to me or to my group. Okay. Underestimate supervisor advice. Okay, this is particularly for students. Sometimes too confident. Okay, so the student can handle everything, no need any preparations. Even though before my presentation today, I still looking through my presentation slides as of yesterday to ensure my presentation today is smooth running and everyone who actually listen to that will benefit. And I hope so. This is the case. Okay. Must not give up too easily. Okay, so you have to keep working, even though your manuscript has been rejected more than 10 times. You must not give up, because the moment you give up, then that's it. That's the end. Okay, never give up. Okay. Almost there already. Don't give up. Okay, too many stuff. Okay, the student have to work in the lab, have to prepare the chemical, have to ensure that the inventory of chemical, everything in place, too many stuff. This happen only if you adopt poor reminders. Okay, so you have to arrange your work systematically. Okay, maybe you need a calendar to remind you. Okay, not to forget this, not to forget that. Okay, now we have all these gadgets, so you can always set the reminder easily. Okay, in which I have really benefited. Okay, without the gadget, I have many things to to be forgotten. Okay, so publication is a hard work if alone, and then you need to set a clear target. As I mentioned earlier, the first day when my postgraduate student join me, I will tell them, if master, I require 2 research paper. PhD, I require 3 research paper before you can graduate. That is minimum. And if let's say you can publish review paper, there will be advantages. Okay. So this is a well say, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you have to go together. I actually adopt both of these because some of the mission, I need to go fast. Okay. But other than that, I will go together with my team and my students. Okay. I think that's all from me. So now I open for last section for Q&A. Any question from the floor?
Question is complete, sir. No any questions.
So I hope my presentations are useful to everyone here.
Yes, really, sir. It's very impressive and very
Let
concisely you have done, and we felt very much
okay. Also,
well
let me
and getting lots of the ideas.
okay. Thank you. Also, let me share my contact details again. Just
Yeah, okay, sir. Yeah.
just in case happen you have any question in the future, you can always contact me. So I will just put my email address at the chat box. So
Thank
that
you, sir. Thank
everyone. So okay, I did put it in the chat box, so anyone can contact me if required. So if no question, over to you, organizer. Organizer, are you okay? Are you here?
Yes. So that's it for our morning questions. We will be back again at the 1 a.m. in Thai time zones. So see you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are using the same link, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, organizer, and thank you to all the participants for your time listening to my presentation. And I wish my presentation is useful to you, and I'm looking for collaboration in any form in the near future. Just let me know if you know there's a potential for us to work together. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dilly sir. Dilly sir.
हजुर
तपाईँ पनि हुनु छैन?
छु छु
ए त्यही त अब आजको प्रेजेन्टेसन त खतरा
I'm here already. Just to let the organizer know.
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. I think let's wait 2-3 minutes.
All right, no worry.
Good afternoon, Professor. So I would just like to know how to how to start the first sentence in the introduction line. So, do you have any idea? Is there any specific guidelines that we can start a introduction line?
For my presentation earlier, you can actually use the funnel types of preparation where you usually start your introductions with the general scenario before you narrow down to the introductions of your study. So one of the example given earlier is
Funnel, just funnel framework.
So one of the example given in my presentation earlier is actually I'm working in biofuel, or you can say renewable energy from biomass. So usually when I start with something general because now everywhere most of our energy supply is from the fossil fuel, so it's quite general. And then of course everyone also know that, or generally everyone also know that, but fossil fuel is not sustainable. So that's how I actually start my introduction. And then before I narrow down to biofuel from biomass.
Yes.
Let me close my door.
Yes.
Okay, because it was very cold in the office, usually I would use my door. But during my presentation, I will just close it to avoid the disruption.
Okay. I leave it to the organizer. You can let me know whenever I can start my next session.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you everyone to Research and Publication Sustainable Biofuel Technology Areas by Assistant Professor Lim Jun Wei in afternoon section. So you can start your presentation now.
All right. Thank you very much, organizer. Let me share my screen so that you can see my presentation slide. So just want to confirm if everyone can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Yes, yes, clearly.
Okay. Okay, just wait for a while for me to remove the top part. I usually experience this problem because it's blocked my slide. How to remove it? Okay. So, a very good afternoon, everyone, from Malaysia side and also maybe Thailand sides. If we have participants from other country, different time zone, especially in West, probably still morning. So I hope you have taken your lunch after my first presentation just now. And then what I'm going to do next is for this afternoon, I'm going to share with you based on my personal experience, how usually I respond to reviewer comment. Okay. So what happen is initially when you and your student will be preparing a research proposal planning, then after that, this one confirm, you will start collecting the data. Once data collection complete sufficiently for manuscript, so the manuscript will be prepared and submit. So this is the usual steps. I believe is applicable to most of the researcher and academicians. And once your paper is submitted, what happens is that your paper will undergo technical check. Okay, so where the journal office will check whether you fulfill the requirement as outlined in the guide for authors in terms of formatting, references, and also number of tables and figure, and sometimes also the total number of words for your abstract as well as the conclusion. So once you have actually follow all these requirements, and the person who checked the manuscript happy, so the manuscript will be passed to the editor. And then here, the editor will look into the technical content as well as the novelty. If the paper is suit the journal, the editor think that it will actually give a wider readership and can receive high citation. Okay, then the paper will undergo under review. This is very important because when an editor decide whether to send out for review or reject, they will actually think, will this paper receive citation? Because the citation will impact the journal in terms of the quality, which I have presented earlier. They count in terms of impact factors. So they don't want to accept a paper that nobody want to read. So that is the first thing in the editor mind. Okay. But what happens if, let's say, your paper rejected? So you do not have to worry. You have to select other journal which actually fit your scope. Then resubmit again. Okay, until maybe the paper would undergo under review. If you are giving up in the rejection, that means that's the end. So try not to do that. Okay, and herein I introduce myself again. My name is Jun Wei. I'm Lim. Okay, I'm also a professional chemist and also a professional technologist, carrier title CHM and TS. And then recently, I have obtained my chartered scientist and chartered chemist from Royal Society of Chemistry. And also, I'm the member of associate member of Institute Chemical Engineering, and I'm member of Malaysia Institute of Chemistry and professional technologist. Okay, currently I'm I'm affiliated with University Teknologi PETRONAS under the Department of Fundamental and Applied Sciences, and this is my email as well as my phone number. Okay, let's begin the journey that I have gathered all these experiences. Okay, so during the technical check, this is my very personal experience. Okay, so I received a irritating continuous turn down by the technical team. Okay, so the technical team can be the editor himself, or sometimes the assistant editor who actually manage the journal. Okay, so here is a technical check by Journal of Environmental Management. Okay, so when I submit my paper, as you can see here, I received 2 comments for the technical check. The first one is a highlight, where I mentioned that the highlight should be 3 to 5 bullet point within the 85 character, which I have shared in my earlier presentation. And then the second one mentioned that I have actually exceeded the number of figures and table, which is only 6 and 5. Okay, so what I want to emphasize here is the first comment, research highlight. Okay, so after they return us the manuscript, we correct the highlights. Okay, so this is how the first correction of the highlight looks like. Performances of freezer bed bioreactor to grow microalgae or polyethylene foam. And then the second one is about light intensity and carbon dioxide enhancement to spur attached microalgae growth. Eventually, all these microalgae biomass will be used to produce biofuel. Just to let you know in advance, because my talks today is related to biofuel. Okay. And then the mechanisms of microalgae attachment formation in the real nitrogen-rich wastewater, and the last one, reusability of polyurethane. So when I go through these highlights with the limited character 85s, I thought that's okay. Then I also trim down the number of figure and table. Then we resubmit the paper. Okay. So the first comment given was, as you can see here, 13th of February 2020, about 2 years ago. Okay. Then on the same day, when we submit the paper, okay, maybe at night, okay, the editor is very hardworking. They reply me. Okay. And then this time come back with 1 comment, which is about the highlight, and the comment is the same. Okay. So I do not know what is going wrong with my highlight. So I thought, since the minimum highlight is 3, so it's good to just submit 3 to reduce the error. Okay, so we trim down 1 error, and I submit this highlight again back to the journal. Okay, then after 2 days, 13 now is 15 February. So after 2 days, come back with the same comment. Okay, the same comment, and I do not know what to do. Okay, so I don't know what to do means that I do not know how to correct the highlight already, because I was confined with the total number of character 85. Okay, so I decide to email the editor, okay, who actually handle my paper at that moment. So this is how I actually construct the email sent to the editor, okay, who handle my manuscript. So we thank you for your technical check. Indeed, we have corrected our highlight 3 times before the similar comment are given again at the 4th time. Okay, so we are not sure what is the problem. Okay, and then we actually hope that you can actually give a specific comment to each highlight. So at this time, we are uncertain about the mistake that maybe we have done. Okay, so please let us know the soonest possible. And your advice is truly appreciated in giving us the opportunity to publish our work in a renowned journal. So when you construct the email, or when you want to email to this editor, we have to carefully construct the sentence, because the fate of the paper is within the hand of the editor at that moment. Okay, so I do not want to disappoint or unplease the editor at the time. Okay. Then the editor reply. Okay, the editor reply on the same day. So I sent on 17th. So this editor is very hardworking. Okay. So the following are not complete sentence. Okay. So performance of the freezer bed bioreactor, and then the last one is the last highlight is reusability of the polyurethane foam for producing quality microalgae. So you need to write a complete sentence. This is the main issue. Okay, the sentence is not complete. Okay, so it's actually referring to highlight 1 and highlight 3. And even he actually give the example how to prepare a very complete sentence in this case. A freezer bed bioreactor was evaluated for growing microalgae on polyurethane foam. Okay, so and I have also corrected for the 3rd highlight. I did not correct correct for the second highlight. Okay, because there's no comment on that. It's only highlight. You only highlight the highlight number 1 and highlight number 3. Okay, so after the corrections were made, I sent back to the journal. Okay. So what happened is, before I sent back to journal, just to let you know, I actually sent the editor with the highlight, and she say looks good. Okay, as you can see here, he say looks good. So only after that, I send this manuscript back to the journal. So let me remove all this black bar. I don't know how to actually remove it. You are screen sharing. Okay. Okay. So then I resubmit the paper, and it was turned out again, and now because of highlight number 2. Okay, by the same editor. So you see, this thing can be very funny. Initially, the editor say it looks good, submit, then it turned down, and then this time he say that the highlight 2 need correction. Okay. So after we have made the correction for the second highlight, okay, then the manuscript finally submitted out to the reviewer, and it undergo review after that. So this is a final highlight that I have prepared. Okay, so as you can see, the technical check stage can be quite cumbersome. Okay, so it also depends on the editor. Sometimes the editor is very particular. Okay, like this. Okay, so the lesson learned here is sometimes it's very difficult for a non-native speaker. Okay, non-native English speaker like me to identify this error. So the lesson learned here is email the editor for technical or the technical team. Ask for the specific reason what is the problem. Okay, to resolve the problem faster. So only the technical check, as you can see, that it has been turned down about 4 to 5 times, and most of the researcher or maybe academic, first round is already give up. So this one 5 rounds. So you have to go through this tedious process. Okay. If you have any question, you can stop me at any moment and just let me know. Okay. So I have a very short video here to share in which I think is interesting and it's funny at the same time. Okay, so I will just play this video.
Okay, sir.
So as you can see, your face is the hand.
Interesting.
It's a hand of the editor. So you must always please the editor. Otherwise, then you'll be rejected.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I hope this short video actually show you all the meaning behind the scene of the publication.
Really.
Okay. So next is once your paper has under review, maybe roughly you wait around 2 to 3 months. Okay. If let's say there's still no reply from the journal or from the editor, something goes wrong. Maybe the editor overlooked because I have too many academic staff, paperwork, and so on. So what you can do is you can actually email the handling editor. Okay. And then of course, in this case, you have to do it nicely. Okay. We don't want to disappoint the editor. Okay. Or unplease the editor. Okay. So how you can actually email the editor? So in the case of Elsevier, in the system, you can always go to the submission system, then you click send email. Okay, so as you can see, I have a paper submitted somewhere August 2017. Okay, and at the point when I email it, it's already 2018 May. So it's like more than 6 months. Okay, so I'd say cannot wait already. So it's time for us to take some action. Then we email the editor. Okay, so here you can click email, then you submit your query. Okay, so this is how I actually prepare the usual way how I actually prepare the one. Okay, so name, email address, then query. I wish if I could be updated with the new status of our revised manuscript for possible publication in the journal. Accordingly, we are truly understand if more time is needed for this consideration. We apologize in advance for causing inconveniences. Hope to hear a favorable reply from you soon. Thank you and have a nice day. So you have to do it very nicely. You don't want to you don't want to unplease the handling editor. Perhaps the handling editor having too much pressure already from the academic work. Then you pressure him or her some more. So he will probably suggest rejection. You have to do it very nicely. Okay, but I believe most of the handling editor they will handle the paper professionally. Okay. Why I cannot click next? Okay, next. So the first reply after I have sent that email. So as you can see here, I apologize for the delay in the review process for your manuscript. The delay in the review process is due to the fact that all invited reviewers have declined the review invitation. I have also made a note to this manuscript and so on. So this is the first reply. Mention that no reviewer want to review the paper. Okay. Then after some times, I received the second reply. So now with a new reason, we regret to date we have been unable to provide you with a decision on your paper due to a backlog of paper under consideration with the editorial team from the last year. We would like to reassure you that the new editorial team under the leadership of Dr. Foley, okay, are working to complete through the prompt and assessment of your paper. So we estimate that you will be known outcome within a couple of months. So we have to wait some more few months. Okay. But the good thing is after this email, okay, our paper is accepted exactly after 1 year. So as you can see from the date here is we submit. Okay. Initial submitted is 15 April 2017. Accepted exactly 1 year, 14 April 2018.
Oh my God.
So this delay thing can actually happen. And it's renewable and sustainable energy review. And it's a very high impact journal if you can search from the journal right now. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a good news rather than being turned down.
Yeah. Slow race wins the game, sir.
Yeah. So the delay also can be because of the editor cannot find suitable reviewer. So usually occur to the work which is usually very specific and the area of work is very niche. For example, mathematical modeling. Okay. So this kind of work, very difficult to find a reviewer. Okay. Most of the reviewer will just turn down because it's something not easy to go through the mathematical model, the derivation step by steps. So in fact, this actually had happened to me. So as you can see here, so dear Dr. Lim, I'm having difficulty to find the third reviewer for your manuscript. So in order to expedite the review of your manuscript, you can kindly suggest 5 potential reviewers, different from the initial suggestions that are not within your country, and they must also not co-publish any research paper. Okay, so this is requested by the editor himself. Okay, asking me to propose the reviewer because he cannot find a reviewer. So to me, I observe this one as an opportunity to suggest someone who can actually review my manuscript. Okay, so after under review, okay, or the review process has been completed. Okay, so the status will usually turn to with editor and decision in process. So after sometimes a few days, probably you will hear the news. So usually there will be 4 possible outcomes. So the first one, accepted. Okay, which is extremely rare without revision. So your paper accepted straight away. Extremely rare. Minor revision, rare cases. Okay, major revision, common. Rejection, very common case. Okay, so most of the journal also you can see their rejection rate. For example, some of the high impact factor journal, the rejection rate can go up to 80 to 90%. Means that if let's say they receive 10 submission, 8 to 9 paper will be rejected. So as you can see now, the submission is going beyond something the journal can control. So that's why that contribute to the higher rejection rates. Okay. So if your paper is accepted, of course, celebration. You are happy, the students are happy, everyone is happy. Okay. So as you can see that this is an example, mentioned that the paper has been accepted. I have reviewed the revised version of the paper and I'm pleased to tell you that the paper has now been accepted for publication in the Journal of the Taiwan Institute of Chemical Engineers. I thought you did a nice job responding to the changes suggested by the referee. I think that the revised version of the paper will make a very nice contribution to the literature on wastewater treatments. Even though your paper is being accepted, so my advice is when you receive this email, please also respond to this email. So this is how I respond to the handling editor or the deputy editor. Okay, so all authors wish to thank Professor Tong earnestly in accepting our manuscript for publication in the Journal of the Taiwan Institute of Chemical Engineering. We look forward to send our manuscript to the Journal of the Taiwan Institute of Chemical Engineering again in the near future. This actually to show that you want to politely reciprocate the good favor from the deputy editor. Most of the people they receive this very happy, then they forget to respond. But please remember that if possible. Just send the handling editor the thank you notes. Okay. So if rejected, okay, what's next? You have to find again a new journal which is appropriate. You have to do some formatting based on the guide for author, and then resubmit as soon as possible because we don't want the work to become obsolete if you keep it in your PC, personal computer for some times. Okay, so keep on trying again. You must not quit. Okay, just keep trying. Once you quit, that means once you quit or you stop trying means that the manuscript is going nowhere. It will just stay in your PC. Okay. This is because you see from my personal experience, as you can see, most of my submissions being rejected many times. Okay, being rejected more than 10 times. So what I do is I keep on trying. And this is my students' experience. Sometimes the student being rejected 2 to 3 times, I give up already or become very emotional. Okay, you must not do that. You must, once your paper is rejected, you must know, go through the comment. If the comment is logic, try to incorporate in your paper before resubmit again. Okay, so you must not give up. Okay, this is because when I serve as a reviewer, I myself also reject many papers. Okay, simply because of the novelty is not strong enough. Most of the discussion is based on speculation, not the real result, but speculating. Okay, so when I read that kind of discussions, I know that the novelty is at shake. It's not strong enough. Okay, so I have no choice but to give a suggestion why I reject. Okay, I don't reject paper without any comment. Okay, this is very bad for the authors. Okay, I will usually give a comment why this decision is made. Okay. So minor revision, a very rare case. Okay, but it can happen if you have a good quality of paper. So you no need to do additional or new experimental work. Simple clarification of the text are usually needed. Maybe some languages error or improvement required, and maybe formatting. Your references is not properly formatted based on the journal requirement, and the technical team overlook it. Okay, so you can actually correct and can be completed within a day. This kind of correction. Okay, let me remove this one. Okay, and then editor will make a decision upon the resubmission of revised manuscript, usually within 2 days to 3 days. 2 days to maybe 2 weeks time, you can actually receive the decisions. Okay, so usually minor revisions, which is being hidden behind this black bar. I do not know how to actually remove it permanently. Okay. So this is very rare cases. Okay. But still, you need to address in the responses to reviewer comment list or the file, which I will share with you how to prepare the list of responses after this. Okay, major revision. This is very common, but major revision is still better than being rejected. Okay, so usually the authors will be given 2 to 3 months to complete the revision. But if you have not enough time, you can actually request for more time by writing to the editor in charge who actually handle your paper. Because sometimes this kind of revision, it requires additional experimental work to support or substantiate the existing claim. Not only new additional experiment, you require new experimental work to complete the reported study, which I will show you my personal experience after this. Required major clarification of text with comprehensive, specific literature review. Major languages improvement, such as it required the proofreading by native speakers, where you have to send for proofreading. Major formatting, for example, abstract conclusion number of words, too long or too short, text length, highlights, more than 85 characters, and you forgot to submit your graphical abstract. So all these comments will give you a lot of headaches. Sometimes it will give you, when you see the comment, you feel panic attack and you feel like want to vomit when you see the comment of 3 to 4 pages. Okay, so this one also need to be addressed in the responses to reviewer comment list. Okay. Sometimes when you have too much comment, the major revision, you tend to decline the revision. Okay. So in my personal opinion, try not to decline the opportunity for possible publication. The status of major revision still better than being rejected. At least that's to me. I hope you will agree with me. Decline only the comment is impossible to address or incorporated or rebuttal. However, please provide a rationale. If you decline, you need to at least provide a rationale and also justification. Okay, why you decline the revision. Okay, the reason is the editorial board time and effort to consumed without any output. Okay, they send your paper to review even though the reviewer, usually 2 reviewer, okay, deserve explanation why you don't incorporate their comment, why you just turn down. Okay, and then the most important thing is you decline, you also need to protect the author reputation, including the first author, corresponding author, co-authors. Okay, to avoid them being virtually blacklisted by the journal. Okay, so you need to provide justification why you decline. Okay, so to me, okay, personally, I do not know what is meant by impossible here, impossible to be addressed. Because I unabashedly seize and grasp all the opportunity for possible publication. I have never declined any revision until now. Okay, when the people come back with revision, major revision, I am more than happy because the paper is not rejected. Okay, so I would still do the revision. Okay, the most is I will request for more time to complete the revision if I have many tasks on hand, especially. Okay. Okay, rejection after revising manuscript. Okay, this is also possible. Your paper being rejected after you done the revision. Sorry, this thing pop out again. Now appear at the bottom. Like that here. Wait. Okay, I do not know how to make this thing disappear. Okay. Okay. Rejection after your manuscript come back asking you to do revision, but after you do the revision, the paper rejected. Okay. So you have to aware that manuscript acceptance can be very, very, very subjective. Okay. The following reply was from my previous revised manuscript submitted to the Journal of Cleaner Productions. Okay. So come back with a major revision. We introduced additional experimental work on life cycle assessment. We clarify the text and describe the life cycle assessment substantially. We plot new figure, construct new table, and then this is the conclusion that we have received. Okay, dear Dr. Jun Wei Lim, thank you for considering this journal. Although you have an interesting and valuable paper, the paper needs to be substantially improved before it can be considered for Journal of Cleaner Production. Below, please find reviewer and editor comment for your guidance. We hope that you can consider improving the manuscript accordingly and resubmitting it as a new article. Okay, asking me to resubmit, I say, no lah. Better submit somewhere else. Okay, so do not be too excited lah. After you done revision, you resubmit. Okay, the paper still have the possibility being rejected. Okay, usually I have experienced paper revision being rejected by Journal of Cleaner Production, Chemical Engineering Journal, and another one is Biomass and Bioenergy. Okay, because the opinion and also the perspective from the reviewer difference. Okay, you may think that you have addressed the comment, but they are still not happy. Okay, so if they propose rejections, most likely the editor who handle your manuscript will agree. Okay. So when you address the reviewer comment, usually you start with comment from the editor, if any. Okay, so the typical request from the editor is that provide responses, either incorporate or rebuttal your comment. You need to mark the change in the revised manuscript if the comment is incorporated. Indicate the marked changes in the responses to the reviewer comment. Okay, so these are the three requests usually from the editor, as you can see from the example below. Okay, so usually when you are requested to do revision, here is usually the comment. Okay, we are now received the reviewer reports of your manuscript. Okay, it will tell you the date and you need to do a major modification, which is a major revision. Okay, if within this time, if you need additional time to complete the revision, please let us know. So you always can negotiate the time with them. So you need to duplicate the reviewer comment. You need to insert responses into the duplication comment and all these things. So you need to, even though from the editor, you still need to address, for example, duplicate the review comment. Then maybe in your responses, you have to mention that, yes, we have actually done that, something like this. Okay. So the reviewer comment is not necessarily from the reviewer. It can be from the editor, him or herself. Okay. Other example. Okay. So two reviewers have completed their evaluation, major revision in this case. Okay. So please include a point-by-point responses within the response to reviewer box in the submission system and highlight with the track change and so on. Okay, so these are the example, the requests from the editor who handle the manuscript. So this is just to show you example of the comment. So only 5 comment, easily to be responded. Some comment can go very long. Okay, and some comment, what happens is that the comment has been jumbled up. They are mixing together like this. There's no point form 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. So in this case, when you address this kind of comment, you have to separate the comment and then address them individually. Okay, you have to address this one by one. Okay, you don't put just one comment at the for all these things. Okay, later the reviewer not happy, it suggests rejection, then there will be a more work. Okay, we try to make it clear to the reviewer. Okay, so example, even though you have put the numbering, as you can see, the comment number 1. Actually, there are many sub-comment under comment number 1. So you have to separate them and then address them individually. Okay, like this one, comment number 3, all mixed together. So you need to separate the comment one by one. So as you can see, comment from number 3, very long, and then some more continue. So if you have received this kind of comment, and imagine you have 3 or 4 reviewers give you this kind of comment, that means it's a very headache to yourself as a supervisor and maybe to the student as well. Okay, or especially when the student have graduated, you have no assistant. So most likely you have to do this alone or by yourself. Okay, so usually I would tell my student before you graduated, make sure that you still contribute when your paper come back with the revision. So we have the earlier agreement. Otherwise, if you do it alone or like this, then it will take a lot of time. Still can be done, but it will just take some time. Okay, so before I move further, I'm not sure if there's any comment from the participants. Okay, if no comment, let me continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, I think this kind of the comments we have also facing. So if any new our scholars has such kind of any questions, then they may raise the question. Otherwise, it's good to go ahead, sir. I think.
Okay.
It's very nice, and very fruitful for us. We are getting very new knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next is you need to prepare the responses to reviewer comment. Okay, so next is
there are some time slots I need to be absent from here.
Hello?
Otherwise, that should be fine. No, I let you know what the time slot is. हुन्छ नत्र सरले चाहिँ नि अब भरे भोलिमा अब कहिले हुन्छ अब कुन टाइम चाहिँ नि भ्यालिडेसन किनभने भ्यालिडेसनको लागि फेरि एनेक्सहरु भएन भने हामीसँग चाहिँ नि भ्यालिडेट गर्नलाई अलिकति गाह्रो हुन्छ किनभने यो कन्टेन्ट चाहिँ माथि तलसम्म आज हामीले गरे जस्तो हरेक स्टेक होल्डरकोमा गएर भ्यालिडेट गराउन चाहिँ सकिँदैन किन भन्दाखेरि उनीहरूले त्यो टाइम दिँदा पनि दिँदैन अनि अब त्यो सब कुरा भ्यालिडेट गर्ने
Hello?
चाहिँ नि केही औचित्य पनि छैन त्यही अब भ्यालिडेट गर्ने भनेको
Yeah,
चाहिँ
Professor,
अब
you
यो
can mute
गाइडलाइनमा भएको
participant.
रेलेभेन्ट कुराहरु जसले चाहिँ
Yeah,
नि
I think there's a
एनेक्सलाई
voice from participants.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next is to prepare the responses to reviewer comment. Okay, so usually when you want to respond to the reviewer, okay, you must have a file, and the best is the file name also follow the title. So in this case, you can put your file name, responses to reviewer comment, so that later on it's easy for the editor and also reviewer to find the file. Okay, so if you are incorporating the comment, so your responses should have 3 components. The first one is the author reply. Second, correction made in the manuscript. And the third one is indication of the marked changes in the revised manuscript. So as you can see from the right-hand side here, so this is the comment. Okay, maybe the second question. This is the comment from the reviewer. So the first component is your reply or the author reply. We have explained and stated the model in the method sessions. Okay, because they request the state the model in the method session, so you have to explain that you have done that. Second, correction made in the manuscript. So these are the information being incorporated into the manuscript. You can just copy and paste, put it here. Okay, and then where is these changes in the manuscript? You can ask the reviewer to see line 201 to line 218. Okay, so why you need to have all correction made in the manuscript here, rather than why not just reviewer back to the manuscript and see it by themselves? Just for information, sometimes the reviewer can be very busy. So when they receive the revision version from you, actually we hope that the reviewer will just read from the responses list. So the reviewer is not going back to the manuscript. If the reviewer is going back to the manuscript, there is a possibility new comment from the reviewer. So we just want to put everything in the responses list.
Really.
Okay, we put it in the responses. We hope that we pray after submit, then that's it. That's a
nice.
okay. If you are providing the rebuttal, okay, so you just need to author reply lah, indicating the rationale why you are not incorporating the comment like the first one. Okay, so sorry, this is not the rebuttal. This is still the comment. I will show you after this the rebuttal. Okay, so this is something that maybe you can adopt. See, there's a comment from chat box. Okay, it's okay. Okay, revision tips. Okay, so every comment, actually they only have two possible fate. So the first one is you incorporate the comment, and the second one you provide rebuttal. So there's a comment in the chat box. Let's have a look. So if let's say you are incorporating the comment, okay, usually when it come back, minimum number of reviewer would be usually 2 reviewers if you are very lucky. And sometimes the reviewer can go up to 4 reviewer if you are very unlucky. Okay, so this is example. As you can see, I'm also one of the reviewer. So there's a 4 reviewer report, and all suggesting the major revision, very consistent. Okay, this is another paper. Okay, so the first one suggests major revision. Second reviewer accept. Third reviewer major revision, and I suggest rejected paper because of less of novelty. So this can be like this. Okay, so it depends on the reviewer how they actually judge the novelty of the works. Okay. So editor usually will, what happens is when you submit a paper, the editor usually will invite 4 to 5 reviewers. Okay. Once 2 or 3 reviewers have completed the revision or have responded, okay, then editor will make the decision. This is a usual case. Okay. And when you receive the comment from the editor, best is to submit the revised manuscript the soonest possible to avoid being requested by the editor to respond to the comment from the slow reviewer. Okay, so this is actually what happened to me. Okay, Wong is my student actually. Okay, so we are pleased to inform you we received the 3rd report for your paper. Please address the comment and revise your paper accordingly. Okay, so this is the last report and you will not receive other reviewer report for this paper. So what happened to my students is that I already request, please make the correction as soon as possible. But he delayed due to whatever reasons. Okay, then come back another 3rd report that we need to address. Rare cases, but it could happen. Okay, so once you receive the report, good for you to quickly settle it and resubmit. Okay, don't wait for too long. Okay. So when you address the comment, you need to understand what is required by the comment or the query. And you need to provide a very specific answer. Okay, so you need to read the comment carefully. You can read out loud for several times. Make sure that you understand before you address the comment. You need to construct a specific answer for each query. Nothing more, nothing less. And most important is nothing else. Okay, what they want, you just give it to them what they want. You don't add anything more than that. If you add anything more than that, it will come back. There will be more questions. We don't want that to happen. So I give you a very strict example here. Okay, this comment required me to supply the result for BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, so this is how I respond. The concentration of this one and chemical oxygen demand, this is the BOD. I highlight BOD was measured at this one, and 124. That's it. Don't give anything more than that. They just want to know BOD, then give BOD. Okay, this ammoniacal nitrogen and COD is initially there. Okay, they just want to know the value for BOD. Okay, just give BOD. Don't explain this POD, how it impact all these things. Please don't do that. Okay. Okay. Next is you need to please the reviewer. Okay. Try to agree with the reviewer, even though you don't really agree, but try to agree with the reviewer. Okay. Incorporate the reviewer comment into the revised manuscript. Do not circumvent or avoid the relevant comment for improvement simply because the comment is very cumbersome or troublesome to be incorporated. Okay, you feel that you can incorporate, but you don't want to do it because of the process of doing it is very tedious, consume a lot of time, maybe consume your weekend times. You don't want to do it. So you just simply provide rebuttal. Please don't do that. If the comment is logic and you feel that the comment can improve your manuscript, like it or not, you have to incorporate it. Okay. So for example, the bottom here is easy incorporation comment. Okay. They just want me to change the word from reduction to something else because reduction here can be referred to the redox process, oxidation reduction potential. So I just change to decrease rather than reduction. So this is very easy to be incorporated comment. Okay, so this is example of a very difficult to be incorporated comment. Okay, so here's the comment. The whole paragraph is referring to a model that is not explained or shown in the text. Please state the model. Okay, so you can see the auto reply can be very simple. We have explained and stated the model in the method section. But in the manuscript, as you can see, okay, we have to find the model, okay, derive the model, and then we have to change the numbering of the equation. If let's say there's equation 3, 5, 6, 7, and so on, we have to change everything because we incorporate new equation. Okay, and then we have to properly find the proper term for this model. Okay, and then there's a table some more. We have to change the table numbering. So it's a lot of work. Okay, and sometimes people just add table, but they forget to change the table numbering for the earlier table. Okay, so it could be appear there's a 2 table 1. So this thing can happen. Supplementary experiment to support the claim. Okay, so usually it can be completed within the time frame of revision. Simple and direct experimental work with targeting a specific result. So here is an example. I have to carry out additional experimental work in order to satisfy the comment. Okay, so the comment sounds like this. Since oxygen production depends on CO2, okay, from the graphical abstract, supplementary data for dissolved oxygen evolution, and if possible, the CO2 in the cultivation system should be given. Okay, so this is how we justify. We have included the method to maintain the dissolved oxygen together with the carbon dioxide in the bioreactor. Measurement of dissolved oxygens and carbon dioxide in monitoring their concentration also has been included in our revised manuscript. So we have to carry the experiment to measure the CO2 as well as a dissolved CO2 and dissolved oxygen. Okay, the difficult part is dissolved CO2 because we don't have the prop. So we have to do the very traditional method through the titration in order to determine the dissolved CO2. Okay, so we are using the compressed air, this one, and then we measure the dissolved oxygen and CO2 at this 2 value. Okay, just to get 12 milligram per liter, we have to spend so much time, about 1 or 2 weeks, the procedure to get the chemicals in order to analyze the CO2. Okay, so as you can see, the comment can be quite simple, but the process to obtain this value can be very tedious. So earlier is supplementary experiment. Okay, what if you need to carry out new experiment to support the claim? Okay, so this type of work, okay, usually require more times. Okay, if the time is constrained, as I mentioned earlier, you can request for more times. Okay, and provide rebuttal if the comment is out of purview. Okay, if not out of purview, you need to do all these tedious tasks in order to get the results. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, you can actually request for more time if let's say not enough time. Okay, so do you have, as you can see the comment, do you have data on growth of algae without any cube? I mean, this is for the blank study. Okay, initially we forget that we need to have a blank study. So requested to include the result for the blank study. That means the entire setup will have to be carried out again in order to get the result for the blank. Okay, so that you minus the blank, you know that the actual performance of your microalgae. Okay, so we have actually included the control bioreactor with the blank without the presence of polyurethane foam cube in our revised manuscript. So the comment can be very straightforward. Okay, but the process to get another 2 bar here, okay, the experimental alone will take 3 weeks to complete. Okay, then after 3 weeks, only we can get the result. And after get the result, okay, we need to change the figure caption here, as you can see, because there's a new data added for the blank. Need to change the figure caption. And please do not forget, every section in the revised manuscript required major amendments since new experimental data was included. Okay, so you have to change the method section because you add new experiment. You need to change the result and discussion method because you have a new data. You need to discuss the result thoroughly. And let's say your discussion involving references, you change the reference numbering. Okay, so all this is a major changes. Okay, I think that's a comment from the chat box. Could you please? I think someone have shared the slide earlier. Can refer back. This is the slide for class 2. Okay, someone, maybe Professor Dr. has actually sent the class material. Okay, you can actually download it under class 2 material. Okay, moving forwards. Okay, providing rebuttal. Okay, when the comment is out of scope. For example, here, okay, the author should give general mechanism of lipid formation in MA stand for microalgae, with emphasis in the nitrate as the facilitator for the lipid accumulation or generation. So this one is very much on biological work. Actually, I'm not a biologist. I'm a chemist. So we look at the chemistry perspective. We don't actually carry out the mechanism that happen within the microalgae cells. So in this case, it's already out for my research scope, and this is the comment or the rebuttal that I provide. Unfortunately, we did not investigate the mechanism of lipid formation in microalgae, and this study is beyond the research scope of our reported work. Okay, may we respectfully suggest this study for future investigation. Okay, you don't actually stop there. That's something you are not doing. You just say that something that you propose for future study, and you apologize or you say sorry in this regard. So most important thing is we don't want to disappoint the reviewers. Okay, I think there's a comment from the chat box. Let's have a look. Okay, someone have actually shared the material. Thank you very much. Okay. It can be also in this case, additional experiment to satisfy the comment only. So in this case, you are not changing the manuscript. Okay, you are not changing the manuscript. Only you incorporate into the responses list. So in this case, okay, for example, the reviewer asked for COD data evolution, okay, because it cannot found in the manuscript. So I have to carry out the experiment. We found out that all the trend for the COD, they are the same. Okay, so no point to put this kind of figure in the manuscript because the same trend. Okay, but this plot can be incorporated into the responses list. Okay, to notify the reviewer that you actually carry out the work and this is the result. And you tell the reason why this figure is not in the manuscript. Okay, because you say that the trend is very straightforward and the trend or this COD can be just explained in the text. Okay, because some journals, they have a limitation for the figures number. So you cannot put too much figure. Okay. So you can opt for this way. If you have some figure which is very simple, just put it in the references list. Don't touch your manuscript. Okay. Next is statistical analysis for reproducibility, especially that research work that required data collection. Okay. So statistical analysis represent the possibility of reproducibility is a must if the research involving data collection, such as time course study, environmental monitoring. You monitor something from the river, or you remove the pollutant from the wastewater, or percentage yield content or something like this, that involving numerical value. So you have to incorporate the statistical analysis. So example of the common statistical analysis that you can include is the simplest one is standard deviation and the mean. If you want to go advanced, you can go for 30 post hoc, pairwise comparison, root mean square error, and so on. And you can also use various software. The easiest one will be Excel. Excel will allow you to calculate for the ANOVA. Okay. So as you can see here, please add necessary statistical analysis to make the result better understood and evaluated, especially in figure 5 and table 3. Okay, so we have actually added the statistical analysis for figure 5 and table 3 in our revised manuscript. Okay, so after you add the statistical analysis, don't forget to discuss the statistical analysis, not just add into the figure, then you do nothing after that. You have to discuss whether the result is significant or not significant, so that can be shown by the p-value. Okay, same thing goes to the table. Okay, then where's the changes in the manuscript have to mention in the responses list. Okay, next is you want to guide the reviewer. Okay, so this time what happened to the reviewer is the point that the reviewer is looking for initially already in the manuscript, but this reviewer overlooked it. Okay, so you need to guide the reviewer to show the reviewer that where is the location in the manuscript you have mentioned the specified point required by the reviewer. Okay, so in this case, rather than one of the component correction made in the manuscript where you made no correction, you can change to the description in manuscript. Okay, so as you can see here, the second component, usually I put correction made in the manuscript. So this now I change it to the description in manuscript are highlighted. Okay, because there's no change in the manuscript, but we highlight it so that the reviewer can see the changes. Okay, so in this case, reviewer cannot identify where's the contact angle. Okay, and in this case, the contact angle is mentioned in the page 18. Okay, so and then I highlight. Okay. Okay, before I move further, just want to verify any question from the participants. No question from the chat box. Okay. Any question from the participants?
No, sir. I think
Okay.
no questions.
If no, let's continue. Providing rebuttal. So it must be done nicely because you disagree with the comment from the reviewer. Okay. So you have to decline the comment politely, respect the reviewer comment, provide rationale and justification of the disagreement. Have to remember that humans are emotionally sensitive. Okay, humans are emotionally sensitive. We have to manage the rebuttal carefully. Okay, so here's one of the example. Okay, the reviewer actually mistaken AC, okay, as an activated as an absorption column, but in my study, AC is referring to the activated carbon, in which I have defined earlier. Okay, so they mentioned that seems like the reviewer is very angry. The author should pay much attention to the logicality of the paper. As you can see, the emphasized term seems like our manuscript initially not logic. For instance, I could not find the relationship between the description AC and the absorption column. So we have to justify, we beg to differ. So this example of the term that you can use. And we wish to generally clarify that AC is an acronym for activated carbon instead of absorption column. So we have to tell that the meaning of AC. Okay, nicely. Okay. Next is you can rebuttal providing specific comment, but the comment is very specific. Okay, but you give a general answer. Okay, so the comment from the reviewer is very specific and it's not possible to be satisfied by the current reported work. Okay, so you try to divert the attention of the reviewer or the comment to a more general answer, yet still paramount or still important. Okay, so the bottom here is the example. Based on the conclusion in this study, pH 5 is the best condition for microalgae. However, algae cultivation broth inclined to have a neutral or alkaline pH. The author may want to discuss the trade-off for possible pH adjustment. Okay, so this reviewer don't want us to adjust the pH and indicate that alkaline pH or neutral pH is the best. Okay, so we definitely cannot carry out another set of experiment for alkaline or neutral pH because that will consume the entire time that used to prepare to collect the data for pH 5. Okay, so again, we beg to disagree. Since our nutrients already have two acidic components, so that will be easier for us to adjust to pH 5. Okay. Besides, the main interest of our reported work was to study the mechanism and kinetic. We are not studying the change of pH. pH is the control variable. It's not the independent variable. Okay. And then from our practical viewpoint, it is common to control the pH, especially for microalgae cultivation. Okay, as the pH play an essential role in affecting the physiological growth of living, this also including human. Okay, so pH control is therefore crucial in achieving the optimum physiological development. Okay, so this is how we justify. Otherwise, if you carry out the whole experiment for neutral pH or alkaline pH, that will be another research paper. Okay. So next is the opposite. General comment but specific answer. Okay, so the comment given by the reviewer is very general. Okay, for example, in this case, simply compare our study, which was not directly related to the current reported work. So we compare our study with the other work. And then we need to remind the reviewer the specific objective and aim of the current reported work. So as you can see the comment from here. Okay, the pH for the growth of the algae was in the acidic pH 5. While other studies have shown this Chlorella vulgaris species to grow optimally at basic pH, and then somehow give us the research paper. Okay, can you further discuss your result with respect to this study? So that means we have to download this paper, we have to go back to this paper to see the differences. Then we found out that this paper, they don't study pH acidic, they only study the alkaline pH. Okay, so the same comment can go to the opposite comment can go to this paper as well. So this is how we justify. We beg to disagree. The example given, which is this one, okay, only study the neutral and basic pH. They don't cover the acidic pH. Okay, and their work also focus on suspended growth, and our work is on the attached growth. It's a total different system. Okay, and then to further support why we disagree, we put another references that this study actually study the growth of microalgae under acidic medium. Okay, we justified further. Okay, to actually rebuttal the comment given by the reviews. So you can also do that. Get another support from the literature and then tell them that your work also synchronized with this work. Okay, that will actually strengthen your claim. If not, then the reviewer may think that you are doing the speculations. Okay. So next is avoid repetitive answer. So some comment can be repetitive. For example, reviewer 1 give this comment, and reviewer 2 also give you the same comment. Okay. So you do not actually repeat the answer simply by lengthening the responding list. So indeed, you can politely exert by referring to the responses that has been completed earlier. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, this is the comment, same comment given by other reviewer. Then you just answer yes, as indicated in query number 8. Okay, above, all bioreactor including a co-cultivation system, the dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration were maintained above 4 and 12 milligram per liter respectively. Okay, so you don't have to put everything again. The correction made in the manuscript, where's the changes, you don't have to do that. Okay, so you can direct this reviewer back to the query 8 to see the full comment or the full responses. Okay. Next, references to support answer for queries. For factual answer, references are entailed to support the claim. So we don't want to make too much speculation. You must have, best to have the people who have reported your claim. So you can use that to actually support your claim. So in this case, as you can see here, Coilia vulgaris would not really be considered as a benthic species. How does the increase in the surface area before therefore increase the growth compared to the planktonic growth state? Okay, so we have to justify. Okay, and then the increase of support material surface of polyurethane foam tube from this one to this one had also led to the increase of the weight. And this was supported by the reported research. So you have to put several reported work. Best if you can find something that is more recent, okay, if possible, okay, rather than the old references, okay, to further strengthen your claim. Okay, so all these rebuttals, you must have to do it carefully in order to convince the reviewers. Okay. Next, you can use logic. Okay, use the logic to actually tackle the rebuttal. Okay, link the fundamental theory, concept, model, idea, and etc. to the realistic or real application. Provide rational justification, but you have to be very careful. Mind you, again, decline the reviewer comment politely and respectfully. So as you can see here, this reviewer asking us to sterilize the wastewater before using it. Okay, and we know that in the real application, you cannot sterilize the wastewater. The volume is just too large to sterilize the wastewater. Otherwise, the wastewater treatment company will go bankrupt. Okay, so this is not possible. But we try to help the reviewer to see the logics. So here's how we respond. We did not sterilize the domestic wastewater employed in our study. Okay, this is because in the real application purpose, it is not practical or impractical, okay, to sterilize the wastewater before the treatments. Therefore, by utilizing the wastewater received from the primary classifier, the outcome from our study are anticipated could be directly applied in the existing wastewater, existing activity system treating the domestic wastewater. Okay, so whatever result we obtain, we can apply directly because we are using the real wastewater from the wastewater treatment plant. We are not sterilizing it because the wastewater treatment plant also do the same thing. They don't sterilize the wastewater before treatments. Okay, that is definitely not cost effective if you were to sterilize the wastewater. Okay, so use the logic, help the reviewer to see why we do this. Okay, so that's all about the rebuttal part. So when you're preparing the list responses to reviewer comment, Okay, usually graphical abstract, this is a comment from the editor, is usually optional. But I would still suggest that if you have the way to prepare a very nice graphical abstract, please fully utilize your creativity. Create a very nice graphical abstract to catch the attention of the reviewers. Okay, so as you can see here, this paper mentioned that graphical abstract is optional, but we choose to include it. Okay, we choose to include the graphical abstract in order to make the paper more attractive. Okay. Introduction suggests provide a brief paragraph to link the section of introduction to the next and remaining section, or to highlight the remaining list. So this one is not agree with our introduction section, so we can actually rewrite the last paragraph of introduction section in linking to the next section of our revised manuscript. Okay, so these are some of the minor comments. Okay, and this is actually the changes just to show you. Okay, so when we mention page 5, line 100 to 113, so it's page 5, line 100 to 113. So you have to do a final checking. Sometimes when you do a revision from several reviewers, we forget that we already changed the line numbering for the earlier reviewer. So after you have done all the revision, incorporating the comments and everything, please check the line numbering in the responses list one by one. Make sure that the line numbering is synchronized with the manuscript. Okay. Because we don't want to later on receive the comment from the reviewer. Okay, the line numbering is not synchronized and it's caused confusion. We don't want to take the risk. Okay. You can also prepare your responses list like this in the form of table. Okay. So as you can see here, you can actually separate the how to make this bar disappear again. Have to leave it some time, then only can disappear this black bar. Right. Okay, so you can put it in the table form where you separate the comment based on the sections of your manuscript. Then you put your responses here. Okay, personally, I don't like this way. I like the way which I have shown to you earlier. Okay, the comment, author responses, changes made in the manuscript, location in the manuscript that take place. The changes has take place. Okay, but some people, they like to put it in the table form. It is okay. Okay, this is based on the personal preference. Okay, so you have a title, abstract, introductions, methodologies, result, discussion, conclusion, and references. Okay, you can put it in this way, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then after you have done the revision in the responses list, okay, you need to thank the reviewer. Okay, this is important for you to acknowledge the effort from the reviewer in improving your manuscript, and then also to show your appreciation. So this is the usual term that I use. In this regard, we thank earnestly for all the comments in improving our manuscript, both technical and scientific remarks, as well truly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, just write this kind of sentence in order to please the reviewer. As I mentioned earlier, reviewer is a human and is emotionally sensitive. Okay, maybe they are happy by just reading these thank you notes. Okay, then you need also to prepare a cover letter. Okay, and in the cover letter, you have to mention this is a revised manuscript. Okay, and then you also have to indicate that we have revised the manuscript and addressed point by point of all comment, and then the changes of the manuscript also has been highlighted in red. Okay, so a simple cover letter to the handwriting editor. Okay, and then don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, best to use institutional letterhead. Okay, rather than the bland A4 papers, which doesn't look good. Okay, not professional. Okay, try to get the institutional letterhead. Some experience shared with you. I have a manuscript accepted after the rejections. Okay, so this is my personal experience. My manuscript was accepted after the rejections. So as you can see here, initially the paper was rejected. Unfortunately, we need to reject your paper at this point of as the revision seems to be unsatisfactory. Submit your revised manuscript to another journal. And why they reject? Okay, this is the comment from the reviewer. Unfortunately, I have not seen enough improvement in this manuscript because most of the points made by the reviewer were not being addressed satisfactorily. Okay, only minor changes were made. Several other comments were largely ignored. So at that point of time, I don't think so that I was actually doing that. I actually addressed the comment, all the comment carefully one by one. So what I did at that point of time was that I emailed back, I replied this email to the editor, okay, to the handling editor. So as you can see here, 27 June 2015. So it's already probably late at night. Not late, 3 a.m. in the morning. So the next day, I immediately replied to the handling editor. With regard to the manuscript above, we wish if Dr. Balaban, the handling editor, could still kindly consider our manuscript for publication in desalination and water treatment. We have previously completed the revision addressing all the queries presented by 3 reviewers in very detail. Okay. The changes also has been highlighted in red. Okay. We personally feel that the simple feedback from the second revision of only 1 reviewer is inadequate to turn down our manuscript based on the comprehensive effort that we have previously appropriately exerted. This reviewer might have overlooked the point addressed. Therefore, we hope Dr. Balaban could still kindly at least wait for the responses from the other reviewer before finalizing the decision again. So we email, we are not happy, I'm not happy, then I email to the handling editor, which is Dr. Balaban in this case. Okay. Then from a few days later, 1st July, then we received the responses. Thank you for the email and clarification. We will be glad reconsider the paper and we will let you know. So with this, we have some hope already. Okay. Okay. And then 2nd June, as usual, I will send the thank you notes. Okay, to Dr. Balaban. I wish to take an immense pleasure in thanking your kind effort to reconsider our paper again. Okay, from 2nd July until 16th July, after about 2 weeks, okay, we received another reply. We have now reconsidered your revision and pleased to accept your paper for publication in desalination and water treatments. So you can actually get your paper published by just telling the handling editor that you have done a appropriate job. Perhaps the handling editor may also overlook your efforts. Okay, so you can do this. Okay, so this is my personal experience. And finally, as you can see the paper, okay, accepted 16 July. Here's the 16 July, okay, which is this paper. Okay. And my colleagues also have the same experience. My colleague also having the same experience. Okay. So, but he experienced a little bit different. Initially, the paper was rejected. But he looked at the comment and he think that the comment can be addressed. So he's still doing the revision. Okay, still doing the revision, even though the paper was rejected. And then what next is to do the revision, okay, addressing point by point. Then after that, send the revision back to the handling editor, and surprisingly, the paper also accepted. Okay, so now the question is, are you willing to take the risk? You receive the comment, the paper was rejected, but you are making the revision. Okay, then you resubmit, and then you submit to the editor. Okay, so this also can happen. Okay, and in fact, it has been indicated in the guide for authors. If you are not happy with the decision, you can appeal within the 30 days of receiving the decision. Okay, so the letter must provide a careful explanation of why the author think that a manuscript decision is not correct. And then the editor-in-chief will have the final decision. Okay, so this has been mentioned in the guide for authors. Okay, if you think that you have done a very good job in revision, those comments necessary you have incorporated, so send an email. Okay, fully utilize the power of the email. Send it back to the editor, telling why you should consider to publish my work, and hope that the positive news will come after that. Okay. So when I serve as a guest editor, okay, so this is the interface. Perhaps you have sent a manuscript, so you have seen the author interface. When you serve as a reviewer, you have seen the reviewer interface, but I think not many have seen the editor interface. Okay, so this is how the editor interface looks like from the Elsevier. Okay, so every time we have a manuscript, the handling editor will task it to me, okay, to handle. Okay, and then I can easily invite a reviewer from the system. Okay, where I can select whoever already being registered in the reviewer system. Okay, as you can see here, sometimes not all the reviewer that I have invited, they will accept. In fact, most of them, they will decline. And some of them I invite, they never respond. And some of them, even though they agree to review, but they never come back to me. Okay, they never submitted the report. So this thing can happen. Okay, but luckily the invitation system is quite easy for me to invite the reviewer. Okay, even though if let's say they have agreed but not responded, I can easily send email to them to tell them that, okay, the time is almost up. When are you going to return back the report or something like this? Okay. And as an editor, usually we don't choose the reviewer proposed by the author, because we may think that, oh, whatever proposed by author, they are actually friends or network researcher. Okay. And in fact, as an editor, as I mentioned earlier, we can easily choose from the reviewer recommended in the system. So there are thousands of reviewers we can choose. Okay. And the system will tell you whether these reviewer, are they busy? For example, this one, they already have 2 manuscripts. This one having 9 manuscripts to be reviewed. So when we see this, we usually don't select, not to overburden the reviewer. So we have select someone else who do not have tasks on hand. Okay, and then we also can see the similar works, so that to ensure that the proposed reviewer can review your manuscript. How many similar works with the authors? Okay, we also can see the H index. Okay, but usually we don't select the high H index because we know that these people, they are very busy. Okay. We also can send the reminder as I informed earlier. Okay, so there are many types of template ready. Okay, reminder to the reviewer, some ad hoc email. Okay, but usually I will choose the late email to send to the late reviewer to confirm their intention, whether they still want to review the manuscript or not. If not, also let us know so that I can make a decision earlier. Okay, because my intention is not to delay too long the reviewing process. The authors are waiting. Because when I serve as an author, I also don't want my submitted paper to stay too long in the submission system. Okay. Okay. Other thing you can do is, you can, before you submit a manuscript, in order to increase the chance that your paper is not rejected by the editor and your paper will be submitted to the under review, you can actually start to solicit from the editor-in-chief or the guest editor or special issue. Okay, so for example, in this case, before I submit a manuscript, okay, I try to solicit from this editor-in-chief. So this is how I write the email. We are preparing a research paper and it will be ready for the submission to the microchemical journal soon. Accordingly, I have checked the submission system and saw a special issue. Okay, our title, I give them the title. Okay, and I asked this editor-in-chief whether the manuscript is suitable for this special issue. Okay, if not, then we will submit to the normal submission system. So you can send this email. Okay, when you send this email, you do not ask whether your paper is suitable for the submission to the journal or not. Because if you ask this, that means the answer is yes or no. You are giving the opportunity for the editor to reject your paper. Okay, but you tune your query on what option do you have. Okay, so this will actually give no opportunity to the editor to reject. Okay, so after sending this email, next is, as you can see here, the editor reply, many thanks. Okay, for your support microchemical journal. I can imagine this method, okay, could be difficult, taking into account the use of the liquid chromatography. So please submit your manuscript to the publish in regular basis, not the special issue. So I copy and paste this one and I put it in the cover letter to strengthen that this paper has actually received consent, okay, from the editor-in-chief to be submitted. So please don't reject at the technical or at the initial editorial hand or the editorial stage. At least send out for review. Okay. And what happened next is it goes straight under review after that. Okay. Not being rejected during the initial stage. And the good thing is it only come back with only one reviewer comment. Okay. A very simple comment. Okay. And the paper finally accepted. Okay. The paper's finally accepted. So you can do that. Okay. You just need to, manage the manage the way to submit your paper. Okay, you can just email to the editor first to get the consent. Put it in the cover letter. That would be very helpful. Other than that, sometimes when your paper submitted, it will be rejected at the editorial stage. I mean, before send out for review, your paper is already out, rejected. So we don't want this to happen. Okay, so I do the same thing quite regularly. So this time we also try to other journal. Okay, from this Professor Lizard. Okay, so how are you? As usual, my usual term, how are you? We are in the midst of preparing a research paper with a title and abstract given. Accordingly, we wish to seek your prudent advice on the suitability for the submission to the special issue. Okay, so we give the title, we give the abstract. Then this is the reply. Thank you for reaching out for me. The title and abstract sounds relevant in the special issue. Please feel free to submit your full paper. And the same thing, I will use this one to put it in my cover letter. Okay, and eventually I become friends with this editor, and then we have co-published some paper after that. Okay, so I actually managed to extend my network. Okay. And then if you are submitting to the paper that required processing fees, okay, so what you need to do, some publisher will impose article processing charge for open access like MDPI. You can actually request earlier the discount before the manuscript submission. Okay, so you may get partial or total waive of APC. You can target the special issue. As the guest editor and editor manager have a certain number of paper to be published. So what's meant by this is that all the special issue by the guest editor, they already had a target. For the special issue to be completed, usually the guest editor need about 10 to 15 paper. Okay, so that is to get the complete special issue. If the special issue is not completed before the deadline, it looks very bad for the guest editor. So you can take advantage of that. Okay, so you can request a discount from the guest editor. Okay, so you can prepare a title page containing the author's affiliation and abstract. Send it to the guest editor. Request for the discount. Okay, so you must not feel shy to request for the discount because this is something that they can offer. Okay, so for example, in this case, my team is preparing a mini review related to microbial fuel cell and planning to submit to the special issue. Okay, however, the APC too high upon the acceptance. Is there any way we could get 50% discount? Okay, put higher. If they are not giving 50%, maybe they are giving 40%, 30%. So if you're asking 30%, maybe they will reduce. So usually I go for higher. Okay. So direct me to the editor manager. Okay. Thank you for your interest. Okay. For the APC, it is possible, but it would be nice to contact the editor manager. Okay. So, and then after that, as you can see here, the editor manager agree, okay, to give us the 50% discount. Okay. If the paper is not rejected. Okay. So now I only have to pay half of the APC charges. Okay. So ask for discount. And there's another interesting story that I will share with you. Okay, so my friend preparing the paper and I handle the publication fees because I have sometimes we will work in the network, so we know our tasks. We agree early, and this publication fees is almost 10,000 ringgit Malaysia. So if you convert to USD, it's about 2,005 USD. But what happened is that the reviewing process took too long after 1 year, and my grant allocation has expired. That's another issue. So this bug I need to solve because from the earlier agreement, I will handle the publication fee. Okay. So what I do here is I email the journal. Okay. I will pay for publication fee. So please use, I request to pay for the publication fee, need to use my affiliation, but this is not the main thing. The second thing, I will tell them the problem. Owing to the long reviewing process, my grant now has expired. Okay. And then for me to use other grant, okay, I request for a discount, 50 to 60%. Okay. So I send this email requesting 50 to 60% discount. Okay. So I got a feedback. Please be informed that I have contacted the relevant department in this regard. So this is the first reply. And this is the second reply. Thank you for your email. Given the change of funding, we will assess your eligibility. Okay, whether we can get the APC waived, that means totally 100%, no charges, FOC, free of charge. But before that, I need to tell them the funding detail that I have. Okay, of course, in this scenario, I will tell them, I will give them the grant with having the lowest allocation. Okay, to get their sympathy. Okay. Then after that, after I submit to them, as you can see here, I can confirm that you do not need to pay the article processing charge. That means it's totally waived. I request for 50-60%, but this journal is very good. Okay, give me a totally waived publication fees. And this is a Q1 journal. Okay, so you can get save the cost of publication fee by just email. So this is the power of email. Okay, so it depends on how you construct your words and send it to the receiver. Okay, there's a comment here. Let me have a look. As well as so thank you very much, Professor Gandhi, for your comment. Okay. So always ask for discount. Okay, as you can see, my collaborator, Professor Show. Wow, congratulations, bro, you make it by just sending email. Okay, so your idea works. Okay, do more with less. Actually, I request for 50 to 60% discount. I still can pay the remaining. But this journal is very nice. Okay, give me a full wave. So always ask for discount if you need to publish in MDPI journal, for example. So you can do more with less. Okay. So the paper finally accepted. Okay, for publication. And this is the paper. Sorry, this is not the paper. This is the paper that public accepted. Okay, accepted for publications. Okay. So before I move on, is there any maybe question from the participants? I think there's no question from the chat box.
Dr. Lim,
Yeah.
I again want to request one thing is that, so we are from the social background and education background.
Okay.
Can you also support us from your side? You are from the technical and engineering background, where social background, and then we don't have such kind of the enough and lots of that ideas to do that quantitative research, but where we can do only qualitative research till the date. That is why most of the things in engineering side or chemical side or bio or science side we have the lack of those knowledge. But can you also support us that in our qualitative research if we request you?
How how I could support? I need to know. That's the first thing. But we
No,
can
the
discuss
structure
that.
of that research paper, structure of the research paper or writing and manuscript.
Yeah, sure. We can further communicate further.
Yeah.
You can let me know how I could support for me
Okay.
to
Okay.
further consider to work together with you and your team.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Any other question from the participants? Okay. If no, then let me continue. So I will share with you the advantages being the guest editor for special issue. So if you successfully secure a special issue, I mean you have to write the importance of this special issue and the whatever you have written accepted by the editor in chief, and then you can actually construct your own special issue. And then once your special issue is completed, you are given a chance, okay, to write the editorial for the special issue. Means that this publication with the volume and page is confirmed if your special issue is complete with about 10 to 15 paper. So you will automatically have a research paper in the form of editorial confirmed to have it published. Okay, so this is the advantage being the guest editor. Okay, and sometimes when we inviting the reviewer, this thing can also happen. Okay, so as you can see, this is one of my paper. Okay, and the guest editor is actually myself, Warapon, and also Vesna. So what happened is that when we submit this paper to our own special issue, okay, the editor who handle our paper submit this paper to be handled by Professor Vesna. So Professor Vesna is also the author and also the editor who handle our paper. Okay, so this is a conflict. Okay, we cannot let the author who handle this paper. Okay, so what happened is that I emailed the editor in chief indicating that this is not appropriate because Professor Vesna is also the authors for this paper, so she cannot become the editor who handle this paper. Okay, so as you can see, this funny thing can also happen. Okay, of course I don't want to keep quiet because otherwise later they found out it's going to be very bad. Okay, so I have to take action involving the guest editor. This is involving integrity. Okay, I think there's a comment from this one. Okay, so I emailed them to change the handling editor. Okay. So at the moment, I still have 1, 2, 3. I have the first 4 special issue is still active. Okay, so if you are interested to send your manuscript to any of these special issue, chemosphere, biomass, and bioenergy processes, 2 processes, okay, you can let me know. Okay. So most important thing in publication, you must have a lot of patience because some of the paper reviewing and the whole process can go up to 1 year or more, which I have shown to you based on my experience. Okay, you have to be patient. Most important thing is, as also I commented in the earlier section, do not give up. Okay, never give up. Okay, in research, make sure that the students as well as all the academicians, you actually hold to this novel value, ethic, integrity, respect, and honesty, which is very important. Because once you got caught doing anything not integrity, it's going to affect your reputation. Not only your reputation, but your institutional reputation as well. This is not going to be very nice. Okay. So I thank everyone and also thanks my students who actually helped me to build my own profile while they are receiving their postgraduate degree, master and PhD at the end of the day. Okay, so sometimes I bring them for dinner or lunch. Okay, currently I have one student from Thailand. This is my Thailand student, Miss Raja Prapa Raksasat. Okay, from Thailand. Okay, previously she was in the Sipakon University. Okay, then she joined me for the PhD. She's finishing the thesis writing now, and will be going through the Viva very soon. Okay. So this is some funny images. Okay, university lectures. So what my friend think I do going for holiday, what society think that I should do. Okay, as an Einstein. What my parents or my mother think that I'm doing. Okay, what my student think that I do. Okay, do not pass exam. What I think I should do. Okay, and what I actually do. Too many paperwork nowadays for academicians, which is very true. Okay, so I think that's all from me. So now I open for Q&A if there's any question from participants. Hello?
I think today's session is very interesting as well as fruitful and enjoyable.
Thank you.
We'll learn lots of the things from you and your BT experiences as well as
Thank
and
you.
getting the benefits from the editors, being the guest editors and editors and so many things from the journals. The first of all, we must have to hard work because we're in the first stage of the research. So that is why from your experiences we're getting and pursuing lots of the things. Hope that it will be very fruitful for us as well. And I'm also feeling very fruitful from you and your presentation, very clear and very nice and very trustworthy and having very good rebuttals you have also demonstrated here. And
Okay.
all things I think very precisely you did, sir. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you as well.
Thank you
No
very
more
much.
any questions are from my side, and I'll be contacting you and keep in touch with you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gandhi, for your supports and as well as for your nice words and also for our potential collaborations. And also, I want to take this opportunity to thank Professor Isara for inviting me to this session since last year. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to present myself, my work to all the participants here, as well as those in the Facebook and also in the YouTube. Okay. So if no question, I will pass back my presentation back to the organizer.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.